1500 Central African Time, a very good afternoon to you. You're watching the SABC News Channel as we continue with our rolling coverage of SA Decides 2019. We're coming to the end stages of the results process and the story is already starting to emerge. We'll be covering that more in detail throughout the afternoon. I'm Peter Ndoro in Johannesburg.
And I'm Frances Hurd at the Results Operations Centre in Tshwane. And I can tell you, Peter, there was a lot more people arriving earlier today. Essentially, things should be calming down here at the Rock. We've even heard from the electoral observers, meaning kind of the process is wrapping up. But the president was scheduled to arrive this morning. That's been postponed and postponed. The party now saying postponed indefinitely. So we're not sure if President Thabo Mbeki will arrive here. But of course, we'll bring that to you if he does, and analysis from the Rock shortly.
All right, that's Frances Hurd at the Rock, and it's also happening here in Johannesburg. More details on what we have lined up for you coming up shortly. Well, election observers in the Western Cape have commended all South Africans who took part in the 2019 elections. Despite challenges, they give the 2019 elections the thumbs up.
We need to say that we were very impressed with the way in which the IEC had taken these staff through training in preparation for the election. Now, I want to give you two examples. We came to one polling station where we discovered that one of the staff of the IEC was actually assaulted by one of the voters who really just became impatient about standing in a queue. And that we wanted to hear more about what transpired. And the woman said to us, "I just kept my cool, and then I called the police." Because if she had reacted in any different way, could have created a greater incident. We came to one polling station where a voter had come into the polling station wanting to video the entire polling station and what was transpiring. Presiding officer said to us, "My training prepared me to manage this situation." And we checked with the party agents who expressed their satisfaction with the way in which the presiding officer had managed that situation. And so we want to commend the IEC for the way in which they had prepared the staff for the election. Then we want to commend the voters because we observed different lengths of queues at different polling stations. But voters exercised a great deal of patience, waiting their turn in order to cast their votes. And we want to commend the voters for that.
Democratic Alliance leader Mmusi Maimane showed a brave face when he reacted to his party's performance in the 2019 elections. He says that he's not worried about his position as the leader of the party after the party's poor showing at the polls.
Now no leader enters a race looking for a loss. No person goes into a tournament or a competition wanting to go. You go and you win. And you go and you work hard. And I'm proud of what the DA has done. We could have succumbed to populist narratives. We could have succumbed to forgetting our values. But we've stuck the course and we've gone backwards. We've gone and fought for them. And even though we've lost some votes, I can guarantee you that we've held the center. We as a party will go back and work even harder to regain those votes.
Meanwhile, COPE leader Musiwa Lukota says that he's disappointed with his party's performance, but remains optimistic that it will bag at least one seat in Parliament. The 70-year-old also voiced concern over reported irregularities in the voting process.
That is a worrisome figure for a party like ours. So we're not excited with that. We're not happy with that. And so we have to go and look what went wrong where. We're optimistic that at least we might be able to send one person back to Parliament.
And if not?
Well, look, we have councillors at local government level and all of that. We are going to go back and review the situation of our party and start rebuilding it for the future.
The IEC is set for a rough ride ahead of the final results announcement. Members of the 35 disgruntled smaller political parties say that they're going to court in protest against the vote counting processes. They also walked out of a meeting with the IEC where the audit of the votes was on the agenda. Yesterday, the group also called for a rerun of the polls, alleging flaws in the electoral process.
We are demanding the IEC to give us to bring us an independent auditor to audit these results, because we don't agree and we want all political parties to be part of that process.
I want to emphasize the fact that the protest we have is not a political action. It is a question of moral decency in allowing the people of our country across the board, irrespective of what party they support, like we are represented here, a decent and a fair election.
The IEC is not taking us serious. We were in there, we were asking questions. The CEO said to us, he is chasing numbers to close the station. We are here complaining about irregularities. They are here. They want to to close the stations. They want to finish the process. They want to declare the elections free and fair.
We are not a disgruntled group. We are raising very legitimate question marks about the process that is happening here. We know for a fact that the ANC, this election, was an election of do or die. Yeah. They have deployed, over these years, they have deployed their own cadres in the voting stations. We know that SATU, the teachers, are part and parcel of running the elections. We had reports from our from our party agents that they were mishandled in the voting stations.
Well, as you can see, some very heated comments and thoughts coming from some of the smaller political parties there. And as we come to the end stages of this vote counting process, IEC officials continue to face some tough questions about some aspects of this year's polls. As you saw, more than 30 parties walking out of a meeting with the Independent Electoral Commission regarding the audit over voting irregularities. Well, someone who has an idea of what it's like to manage an elections process and field questions such as this is a former IEC Vice Chairperson and now the Executive Chairperson of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Terry Tsalane. Terry, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me here.
All right, 30 parties, press conference saying they're going to court and some of them even threatening to bring people to the IEC. This isn't something you've seen before.
Well, the Commission has always been taken to court. You remember that during the Clockware debacle, we were taken to court as the Commission, to the Electoral Court until the Constitutional Court. So this is nothing irregular at all. There are instruments in law that enable the political parties who are disaffected by the decisions or the results of the elections to approach the court. You know that the starting point is what I've been saying, Section 55 objections. 65 objections basically relates to the results material to the outcome of the elections. So if a political party feels, or anybody feels that the irregularities are such that they will affect the outcome of the results of the elections, they can invoke Section 55 of the Electoral Act by approaching the Electoral Commission and lodging an objection. And if they are not happy with the decision of the Commission, and I know that at this stage the Commission has already indicated that they are dealing with those issues in terms of Section 55 of the Electoral Act. So once they make up their decision and they communicate that decision, it will be within the political party's right again to go to the next level, which is the Electoral Court. So the instruments are there. If you are not happy with the decision of the Commission, you approach the Electoral Court. If you are not happy with the decision of the Electoral Court, you still have the Constitutional Court that you can actually approach. So because the instruments are there in law,
they can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. There is nothing irregular about it.
All right. So what does that do for us in terms of timeline in declaring the announcements? I'd heard that 9 o'clock tonight was a cut-off time. What is that, and what does it mean in the context of what's happening now?
No, 9 o'clock is not a cut-off time. The Commission has got to make sure that, firstly, the Commission cannot announce the results within 48 hours. Okay. So the cut-off time that we're referring to, it's actually the time frame within which the Commission cannot announce the results of an election. So now, after that, the Commission still has 7 days within which they can announce the results of an election. So we will see as to whether it is possible for them to do so. But again, the Commission cannot announce the results of an election until such time that they've dealt with Section 48 objections. So if the issue of auditing certain results or certain processes within the electoral processes as objected to by political political parties, if those issues are not resolved tomorrow or any other day, they are going to have to continue dealing with those issues to the best of their abilities, and then once they finalize them, it is then that they can actually be able to say.
So what happens if this isn't resolved in 7 days?
Section 57, rather Section 56 of the Electoral Act empowers the Commission to approach the Electoral Court to extend the period within which they can announce the results.
All right. So, have you? In fact, let's talk about the issues themselves that are being raised. Apart from the voting twice, what sort of issues are normally brought before the IEC that you've experienced in the many years that you've had experience with this?
Well, the main issue that, the biggest issue actually was the issues around the voters' roll. Remember that, as I've always said, the integrity and the quality of the elections is determined by 4 factors: the quality of the voters' roll, the quality of the logistics, the quality of the electoral staff, as well as the political environment. Now, we've been taken to the Electoral Court because of the defects that were identified within the voters' roll. So the voters' roll plays a crucial role because it determines the eligibility of people who are supposed to be participating in the election. So if there is anything wrong there, then anybody or political parties are entitled to raise those issues, firstly with the Commission as objections, and if they're not happy with the decision of the Commission, then they can approach the Electoral Court. So we've been taken to the Electoral Court because of the defects in the voters' roll, but there are certain decisions also the Commission had to take in relation to staff that were doing things that were not regular, or inconsistent with the values of the organization. There is a staff member in KwaZulu-Natal a few years back who had to be imprisoned. And I think she was in prison for about 10 years for basically tampering with the results of an election. So there are many instruments, there are many complaints, there are many objections, and the Commission always has a legal framework within which they can deal with those.
All right, so we're going to come back and chat a little bit more about these marks on our thumbs, the indelibility and the integrity of the vote this time around, and some of the checks and balances, if you could help us manage that. But first, let's start tracking around the country a little bit and get a sense of what's happening as we get closer and closer to completion in declaring each province. We start in KwaZulu-Natal, where our reporter Ayanda Mhlongo is at the IEC in Durban. Ayanda, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's been a long couple of days, but slowly but surely we're getting towards the end.
So he was meant to at 10 o'clock. 10, then it was changed, and now they've said postponed indefinitely. I don't know why.
Possibly first want to see what's happening. President, we're now well over 90% of the votes that have been counted. And I tell you now, Peter, the political parties, especially those that are the ANC is currently at top position, followed by the IFP, the Democratic Alliance, and then the EFF have their eyes glued to the results board, particularly as they are now awaiting results from Metro. All of these parties are very, very keen on the results that will be coming in from the eThekwini Metro. Many of them say they enjoy quite a strong support base here in the Metro. And of course, one of those parties that is at fourth position currently is the EFF. And I'm now joined by the leader of the EFF in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Vusi Khoza. Mr. Khoza, thank you so much for joining us. Coming in at fourth, just take us through with the results as they're coming through.
Greetings and greetings to the viewers at home. Thank you very much. We are extremely excited as the EFF by the outcome of this. We are well positioned and we are very grateful to the voters that they heeded that they should vote for us, and they responded positively our message. And we are watching the scoreboard here, and we are surprised by our performance, and we are mindful of the fact that we are not yet finished, and we still hope that we'll continue to go up.
This time around you seem to have changed the strategy in terms of your campaign. What do you feel worked for you? You spread out, but obviously you focused a lot. Tertiary institutions is where you've enjoyed a lot of support as well.
Yes, it's our message that attracted certain constituencies. This time around, we wanted to come up with a message that says we are there for everyone. Firstly, our manifesto was on land and jobs. Those are the key issues that worry our people. And we are also able to cater young people, particularly on the issue of free, quality, decolonized education. That message resonated a lot with young people, and we, as a result, got a lot of support from that sector. And we are moving forward, and we are leaving no one behind. We are a multi-sectoral organization, and we're able to draw votes across the sectors.
I just want to also speak about the challenges. So we've spoken to some of the other political parties. Happened, the disruptions. Parties already saying that they're disappointed with the demonstrations that led to many people who would have wanted to cast their votes in KwaZulu-Natal being unable to have an opportunity to speak to yourselves as the EFF. How do you see these demonstrations that took place in the province?
These demonstrations are a clear sign of the failure of governance. The ANC has failed our people. There is no service delivery. We still remain the most unequal society. There's high unemployment and poverty. So people were actually venting out their frustration, hence these demonstrations. We say people have got the right to demonstrate. We would have loved for people to demonstrate through their vote and reject the But the fact that it has declined so much is a very clear indication that people are rejecting the ANC. I also look at the number of spoiled votes in the province. It's very high. And I would say that that cannot be attributed to lack of political education, but it's a pure indication that this is a protest vote. People were actually checked the ANC and because of all its shenanigans. But I would have advised otherwise. I would have said, show the ANC that you reject them through voting for the EFF, so that and send the EFF to Parliament to correct the wrongs of the ruling party.
Before I let you go, the spoiled vote, but do you feel that the onus was also on all parties in terms of voter education, that you too, as could have assisted in educating our communities before going to the polls?
Absolutely, and I think that starts in the main with the political parties, also the IEC and government as a whole, because if you sabotage, for instance, or you take away the understanding and the right to vote, you de-enfranchise a certain sector of people, it can't be right for our democracy. So it is a responsibility to ensure that people once in a while go out and they exercise their right to vote, because that's the right thing to do.
Mr. Khoza, thank you so much for your time. Vusi Khoza, the leader of the EFF here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. You mentioned an interesting point there, Peter, on the spoiled votes here in KwaZulu-Natal. At around 2 p.m., there were well over 100,000 of the spoiled votes that had counted. So we're going to dig into that a little bit later when we speak to our that have been with us here in Natal. But for now, we just keep an eye, Peter, on the remaining percentages of votes. As I said, all eyes now are on the rest of the results that are coming from the eThekwini Metro. Peter?
Ayanda, thanks very much indeed. Well, I can tell you that people keeping their eyes on what's happening in Gauteng, 70.99% completed in terms of counting, and the ANC now at exactly 50%. So after dipping below 50% for some time, they're starting to pick up again. It seems as more areas get counted. The DA still in second place, 27.84%, and the EFF healthy 14.28% in the province of Gauteng. So the ANC 50% exactly as we speak. All right, we take a quick break, and after that, more right here on our special elections coverage.
What are your views on unemployment?
It's election year, and you've been asked an important question.
Unemployment is currently sitting at...
Don't take too long. Millions of voters are watching.
Sorry.
Is that a trickle of sweat?
First, let us talk about that.
Nailed it. Remembering is important. How long it takes you to remember is sometimes even more important.
While South Africa's 6th general election had the entire country fixated on the leaderboard, results board results charts for days. While there were winners, losers and a few surprises, there were rude awakenings, sobering moments, joy, anger, relief and disappointments. Well, watch Unfiltered on the SABC News channel and SABC3 at 20:30 on Sunday. I'll see you then.
Welcome to the Results Operations Center in Tshwane, and it's basically been declared, this election. We have maybe one or two interesting things to still look at in Gauteng, some of the big areas still to come in. There was interest there in whether or not there would be a coalition government, whether or not the ANC would get 50% or more and be able to hold Gauteng on its own, or whether it would have to work with other parties. Right now, it's sitting on on about 50%, so maybe that is a moot point. I've got some analysts with me, Angelo Fick, political analyst, Professor Susan Boyson, Professor Lesiba Tefo. Thank you for being with me. Let's look at the overall picture. So the ANC on 57.29, that's about 89% of the votes counted. This is more than 2014. Sorry, it's less than 2014, but it's more than 2016. So I'd like to know from each of you what this actually means for the ruling party, starting with you, Angela.
I think it is more or less where they themselves imagined they would end up, given the troubles that they've had over the last 2 years, if not the last 12 years. It's certainly at the high 50s, better than many people expected them to perform, but I think it will still have consequences inside the party because it isn't at the magical 60 level and above, and so the internal dynamic of the ANC will respond to this 57%.
I believe it's quite a strong mandate and a satisfactory mandate for the ANC. My argument is that it's less than it was 5 years ago, but it's way above what the ANC's own internal polling had shown in the last days of Jacob Zuma. So it's a serious increase on that. And some of the support from the ANC that had been cut, for example, mine lower, 8% lower in just KwaZulu-Natal, large figure number implications there. It actually means also in a few other provinces that many of those voters who had been more pro-Zuma probably in this election did not vote for Cyril Ramaphosa, which means he has a clearer mandate, and that combines with the fact that the ANC clearly campaigned on clean government, corruption, etc. down. It means that it probably strengthens Ramaphosa's hand to say, got a clear mandate, we have shed some votes, but people were unambiguous.
So if you're saying if this was a referendum on President Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership, he's passed?
Yes.
He's kind of got yes.
Yes. It could have been far, far worse for him. So I think it really strengthens his hand. And at this stage, it seems, unless he proves differently in appointment of cabinets, etc., that will follow, it really shows there is a possibility for clear policy direction.
Lesiba?
Yeah, okay, no, thanks very much. I always find it interesting when people want to divorce Ramaphosa from the party or the party from Ramaphosa. Remember, what is called collective leadership and collective responsibility and collective centralism is really what is dogging his leadership style. The Ramaphosa dissipated very soon, simply because of the internal struggle and fact within the party. And I would want to believe that ANC would have gotten a stronger mandate had the commission not started prior to the election. If they had known what they know now, certainly they wouldn't have opted for that. And
what do you mean? The State Capture Commission has been damaging to the
immensely
ANC?
So, immensely
because
so.
it's shown the extent of the rot.
And it speaks to the people who have not voted. I'm making a case that says it is the literati, the middle class, the learned, the educated, who embraced the Ramaphosa. But when the rot was exposed to the extent it was, they became reluctant to vote. And again, they stayed away.
However, one of Ramaphosa's ongoing messages was that we will self-correct. We've made mistakes. Did that work for the party, that recognition, at least?
I think it definitely played a role, and here is possibly a little indication of some form of self-correction in place. I think this mandate, commissions and all, and I think it's excellent that commissions had started rolling out beforehand, because it means it's a more honest mandate. People seeing what's going on, no qualms about that and level of corruption that had happened, and it means they accepting, for better or for worse, that mandate of cleaning up will be followed through on. It would have been very unfortunate if the commissions had only followed after a 62% mandate for the ANC, for example, and then the level of the rot be exposed. This is a warts and all mandate.
Angela, but it sounds like you're saying that maybe the president will have difficulty in, if there is this factionalism, well, there is in the ANC, in kind of driving through his agenda, getting his people in all those key positions. Is that what you're saying?
When I say Mr. Ramaphosa, I mean the people who are behind his particular program. I don't think of him as somebody who institutes on his own, because there is a whole group of people inside the African National Congress and supporters of the African National Congress who support the Ramaphosa route. But that route is not coming out of Mr. Ramaphosa's head, it comes out of the elective conference, it comes out of the people he surrounded himself with. That particular trajectory of the ANC on 57% might have to explain to the party itself why on 57% rather than over 60 that direction should be taken. Because it's one thing to sit outside the ANC and see the 57% as an achievement, as many people in the ANC do. But there will be people in the ANC who will argue that a stronger mandate could have been achieved, and as such, it is because of Mr. Ramaphosa and those who surround him that they have a weaker mandate. That is an internal debate in the ANC that has been ongoing since December 2017. It was there before it, it will continue after it. What Mr. Ramaphosa and his people's challenge will be is to translate this 57-58% into cabinet appointments, into strengthening institutions of governance and state, and continuing on the trajectory that they have set. And that is both inside the ANC for the party to self-correct, because it hasn't finished doing that, and for its mechanisms in state to overcorrect, because it's not about self-correcting. They need to do over and correct themselves, because what these state capture commissions have revealed is that the corruption happened at every level, and we have skimmed the surface on that. We haven't gone down to municipal level and in municipalities how that corruption affects.
At least the president doesn't have an election hanging over his head.
No.
Doesn't that change things for the next few years for him?
It changes things for the next few years in terms of his security of tenure, but his security of tenure also depends on how people who feel and read this mandate see this as either weakness or strength. In some places in the world, 57% would be celebrated with fireworks and, naked dancing on the beach. In South Africa, however, after years of getting above 60, it may be that the ANC would read, people in the ANC who are not on Mr. Ramaphosa's side might read this as an opportunity to indicate to him that you didn't deliver the 62 that we had last time.
Suzanne, you've been interested in the smaller parties. We've spoken about that before. We now have a quota in terms of turnout as to how many seats a party needs to get to Parliament. Just explain that, and I want to know about COPE. Is this the end of COPE? Let's start there.
Yes, indeed. COPE is probably inching into Parliament by
maybe
about
one seat.
One seat.
Maybe. Sure.
It's going to be in that league of one-seaters, possibly good, possibly inching towards 2 seats, but still debatable at this stage. National Freedom Party, apparently, by current projections, is hanging in another one-seater. AIC, African Independent Congress, one-seater. COPE 1, PIC, and then there's still a little tussle between parties like the ASC and the Social Revolutionary Workers' Party. Those two are still checking whether they're going to get in with one seat. So there's a host of about 6 parties that are likely to be coming in with one seat, and another 2 UDM.
Can they be valuable in Parliament? With 1 or 2 seats, can you make a difference?
They cannot make a big difference. Once it gets to crucial votes, they have a speaking platform. They can do things in committees. They can perhaps lend their vote to an important policy issue. But it is a representation largely of multi-partyism, many faces being seen there. For little parties, this is a possible platform into bigger representation in future. But for then, there are so many parties here, possibly around 36 of them, 35, 36 of them, nationalists who are not going to make it in Parliament. And it's from them that we're seeing this little mini rebellion at the moment.
Yeah, crying foul, saying, how can we get so few votes? Lissy, but do you think they have a leg to stand on?
Yes, and I think they do. They really do. But let me just make one point.
But why? The only thing they can talk about is the double voting, the IEC launching an audit, taking that very seriously, but it does not seem widespread.
I will respond to that. But there's a point I want to make here. The 57% the ANC got. You may turn it around and look at it in a positive light and say, this is a harbinger, this is a signal that says, should we not, then things would be worse. If they look at it that way, they are likely to improve and do better.
Okay.
Because the decline has been definite, indisputable, but this is one time, psychologically, they crossed the Rubicon, the 60%.
That's fine. Let's go back to this one. The small parties, to some extent, look, I'm for multi-partyism, but not what I'm seeing here in South Africa, with a small population like us, having 48 parties. And you have America, you have Britain, you have got Germany. You can count the main parties, they are less than 4, right? That's enough. But I don't want to denounce them that much. You know, in the absence of Patricia de Lille, maybe we would not have had the arms deal. In the absence of Holomisa, right? Maybe we would not have fought corruption to the extent we did. And indeed, some of the commissions are attributable to the small parties' tenacity in fighting corruption.
Okay, that's a good point. Talking about small parties, there was this question, let's see if we can bring up Gauteng results here. There was a question as to whether the small parties would be needed in Gauteng. These are the latest results at 68. The ANC basically sitting on 50%. The DA 28%, the EFF nearly 15% in Gauteng. Angelo, was this overblown? I mean, even if they're at 49 or 48, surely you just need one small party and you can control the legislature. At no point has the ANC been in a position where it would have to work with the EFF or DA. Am I correct?
Well, that's what the results show, and I think that what many people assume is that they forget that there's also something called a minority government. If you can't form a coalition, you can form government out of minorities. Much harder to run. But this idea that you don't have a coalition is a crucial aspect for the ANC, because it means they don't have to engage in negotiations that over the longer term will or possibly could damage them in future elections for having relations with people who don't stand on the same space as they do. But secondly, I think we tend to compare with 2016, and that is a false comparison, because municipal politics and municipal voting patterns are very different from national ones. And municipal, provincial government by coalition is a tough sell. We have seen spaces where that is possible, but that has been the Western Cape, and it really required the DA to swallow up its coalition partners. If this were to happen in Gauteng, those three major parties are on such different ideological platforms and different visions of provincial government, working it out even at the municipal level in Johannesburg, Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay. We've seen what happens there. So when you have ideologically such different parties entering into coalitions of convenience to punish someone or to keep someone out of power, it is not held together by ideological or policy briefs, and therefore governance becomes a problem. So
maybe this isn't bad for the people of Gauteng.
Or the people of Gauteng have indicated that they don't want that by voting precisely in the way that they did.
Suzanne, what does this mean for the DA that was gunning for Gauteng, that was gunning for the big urban areas, and believed that it could get the people living in the big cities?
Yes, and of course
to be fair, I think we still have to wait for 1 or 2 big cities, but we're not expecting a huge shift.
No, the trends are there, the CSR projections are assisting us in there. Yes, and the DA, obviously the argument hinges on being able to form a coalition with another party, probably with the EFF. It would have had to be with the EFF. But together the two of them getting about 42% of the provincial vote at this stage. So falling short of that. Interesting point to raise here is 70% turnout in Gauteng province, which is far higher than the national, and also bringing in many votes to the national proportions of parties. But that 70% shows a lot of voter fury. People really got out and voted. They think their individual vote has got a chance to make a difference. Gauteng is epitomization of that. 70% they feel they can make that, and they have spoken in the sense of probably avoiding a coalition government.
Lesiba, quick final word to you. Is this very bad for the DA?
Yeah, well, certainly. I think there was some higher optimism that they would do better than this. Hence the talk about a possible coalition led by them. And I heard the leader of the DA concede that we have done well, but not well enough as we had expected.
All right, thank you all for this great analysis. Angelo Fick, Professor Suzanne Boyson, Professor Lesiba Tefo. And we take a break, and then we'll come back probably to Johannesburg, and I'll be with you later from the Results Operations Centre in Tshwane.
As part of Africa, we're giving its people the great future it deserves with an investment partner like no other, you. We've invested 120 billion rands of our money and yours into creating more than just hope for this beautiful continent we call home. We're sustaining our soil and enriching lives. We're giving our children a brighter tomorrow. We're investing in small businesses to grow the economy. And we're bringing warmth and light to the people who need it most. And by investing in our planet, we're passing this all on to future generations too. Great things are possible when we invest together. That's why we're invested in changing Africa's tomorrow.
When South Africans go to the polls, SABC News gives you names you can trust. Sakina, Criselda, Peter, Stephen, Tsepiso, Francis, Blaine, Leanne. South Africa votes. Live coverage starts Wednesday at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
While South Africa's sixth general election had the entire country fixated on the leaderboard, results charts for days. While there were winners, losers and a few surprises, there were rude awakenings, sobering moments, joy, anger, relief and disappointments. Well, watch Unfiltered on the SABC News channel and SABC3 at 20:30 on Sunday. I'll see you then.
Welcome back. You're watching the SABC News channel. We continue to give you rolling coverage of the results process of the SA elections 2019, and a lot of the provinces are now starting to come to the final stages, and some actually even declared. Let's now go to the IEC Centre in Bombela in Mpumalanga for an update, and there we find our reporter Tumelo Machoho. Tumelo, thanks very much indeed for joining us. So what's the state of play where you are?
Well, Peter, this is what we know so far. All voting districts have completed counting the votes here in Mpumalanga. 1,772 voting stations have completed counting votes. This is where now the party stands. The ANC is still leading there by 70.56%, followed by the EFF with 12.79%. The DA is at 9.77%, and the FF Plus is the new kid here on the block because they've never really had a seat just after 1999. They only had a seat in 1999. Now they have about 2.46%, and BRA is following there in the top 5. BRA is a party from Bushbuckridge. It's called the Better Residents Association. Now it's also coming back into the provincial legislature, but with all those results that have been coming in, we understand now all of the voting stations have completed the voting, and also we understand that there now is a process that is going to be handed over to the IEC, and then they're going to have to now tell to us about what they're going to do here after now the votes have already been completed, and now that the votes have been completed, and what's going to be the next process of what is going to be happening, and then what happened with the spoiled votes, and what happened with all the issues that have been faced by many of the people here. But let's speak to Spuziso Nkosi. He's the spokesperson of the IEC here in the province. Mr. Ndati, just talk to us about what's going to happen now that the votes have already been completed in all the regions.
Yeah, as you know, they were capturing the votes in municipalities, and now once that process is completed, it all goes down to the next step now, which is going to be seat allocation. Seat allocation is when now the votes are then converted into seats. There's a formula that is used there to calculate the quota, so that each political party knows that how many votes it needs to get one seat. So now it's a process which is done at national office, and then it's a process that is used to determine and allocate party or other seats to parties.
How did we do as a province, especially in terms of spoiled votes and in terms of incidents such as those ones? Especially we know that there were like a lot of incidents with spoiled votes, and how many spoiled votes did you have, and also all those issues that we had, especially when it comes to the elections?
Yeah, I think top of my head, ahead, we have something like 17,000 spoiled votes. It's not a very bad number. You know, in every election we'll have spoiled votes. But yeah, as now everything is being tallied up, we can have, you know, like a comprehensive report maybe early next week when our national office does it.
And now talk to us about the issues of what did your member face out there, and what happened with issues such as, you know, like how did you guys manage to address issues in different voting stations to make sure that everyone goes to go to the polling station and they get to vote, especially when we know that some issues where people where they couldn't vote, the way they say they have to wait for a long time, maybe to waiting for ballot paper to arrive at the scene. How did you guys deal with situations such as those ones, and also protests?
Yeah, even though we didn't have situation, luckily these elections we didn't have situations where we run out of ballot papers, but yeah, we managed to solve issues in as speedily as possible. We as you've seen, we have our operational center here in our municipalities. We also had teams on the ground. So what is important is that we were able to commit, or rather to communicate in record time, in as fast as possible. And yeah, we managed to solve issues on time and be able to get things going and working. And I guess political parties were very happy in the manner in which we solved the issues that arose there.
Thank you so much. That was Siso Nkosi speaking for the IEC here in the province. The voting has been completed. The counting of the votes have been completed here in the province. Now is the issue of now how many, what those parties will, now they're going to be calculating parties and how many seats they're going to get in the provincial legislature, and also making sure that everyone and all the parties that have been voted, they also have like a seat in the provincial legislature, especially those who have received so many numbers of votes. I'll hand it over to you.
Tumelo, thanks very much indeed. That's our reporter there, Tumelo Machoko in Mpumalanga. And as he says, 100% completed the counting process there. ANC 70.58%. The clear majority in that province. But the province that we continue to watch, because it's been doing this all morning, is here in Gauteng. And I can tell you that after 2,044 of the 2,771 voting districts, the ANC now have 50.27%. So after having dipped below 50%, they're starting to come back up. And I think what this tells us is that this isn't over until it's over. We take a break. We'll be back after this.
As part of Africa, we're giving its people the great future it deserves with an investment partner like no other, you. We've invested 120 billion rands of our money and yours into creating more than just hope for this beautiful continent we call home. We're sustaining our soil and enriching lives. We're giving our children a brighter tomorrow. We're investing in small businesses to grow the economy. And we're bringing warmth and light to the people who need it most. And by investing in our planet, we're passing this all on to future generations too. Great things are possible when we invest together. That's why we're invested in changing Africa's tomorrow.
The SABC News mobile app is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest in breaking news. Watch the SABC News channel along with clips and live streams of all the big news events. And listen to all the SABC News radio stations live, including podcasts and much more. Simply download the SABC News app to your Android or iOS device from either the Play Store or the App Store. SABC News, independent, impartial.
Welcome back. You're still watching the SABC News channel, and we're bringing you live updates of the results that are coming out of the Results Operations Centre, and also getting a sense of what's happening at the IEC centres around the country. And we've just come back from Mpumalanga. Let's go now to the Free State, where the ANC is already in celebration mode following the vote lead in 8 provinces. Let's cross now to our reporter Ishmael Madiba, who's in Bloemfontein. Ishmael, thanks very much for joining us. I see a lot of happy faces standing behind you. Everyone is celebrating in the Free State.
Well, good afternoon, Peter. You are coming to us here in Bloemfontein, next to, just in front of the offices of the African National Province, that is the Provincial ANC, the Kaiser Sobotelo Provincial Office. Earlier during the day, we had a chance to speak to the IEC, where they were giving us the update. Well, they told us that a lot of progress has been made, with the exception of that was the Mangaung and the Malutapufung that was also making a progress, and municipalities like Nwate, Metimaholo, they were left with just a few percentage complete to capture their data. That in the Free State we had about 129 voting stations. The IEC explained that by 4 o'clock this afternoon they will be complete with the voting, and from any time after 4 we will be able to get the official results as to which who won the province. But we know that currently that the ANC is leading, and the majority of the ANC supporters are gathering here waiting to celebrate. But to tell us more about the celebration, we are joined by the ANC Deputy Provincial Chair William Bulwana, who's going to share with us what sort of kind of celebration they will be having outside their offices. William, good afternoon for hosting us here. We know that waiting for the official word from the IEC just to declare the results of the votes of the elections. You seem ready to celebrate.
Well, thank you to you and the viewers. Our gathering here is informed by number that has been counted already and the number of votes that has been. So we have called everybody here so that we witnessed after 4 o'clock, when those counting is ready, and begin to say what is it that the ANC is getting out of that. So we have gathered here for the final waiting, all of us waiting to hear the results, and then with those results, as we know that how much will the ANC get and how many seats the ANC will get, we will start as the African National Congress. It's still early for us, but we are accepting that we are in the lead. Our people have voted, but if numbers that we think that and then we have not get what we usually used to get, we have moved away from 69% that we got in 2014 to 61 point something percent. So we have not performed well because of number of reasons I'm not going to say today. But that decline is throughout the country. But we are happy that the ANC, the people of South Africa, still have a trust in the African National Congress to say this is their home. So we are waiting with our people. We want to celebrate with them once the results are finally out. So we are going to be patiently waiting for those ones that are still remaining.
Well, Peter, that's what we had. We can hear from the ANC. They are patiently waiting to hear the official word. But when we arrived here, the mood was that of a jovial. It was a jovial mood with the people, with the music blaring. But I just going to ask one of the ladies here just to tell us about her feeling about. Just tell us what's your feeling about so far.
I feel very proud. It is where the ANC started here in Bloemfontein. Proud, and we know that ANC will win. We are sure of that.
Let me get you. What's your opinion about your party so far?
I'm very, very happy. I don't know even what to say. ANC is the best. Is the best. Thank you.
Well, that's what we have for you, Peter. We just want to just give them a chance so that with the celebration going forward.
Thank you so much, Ishmael. That's Ishmael Maduba in Bloemfontein there, giving us the results, of course, in the Free State. Currently, 83.45% of the votes counted, and the ANC at 61.69% in the lead. Well, let's take a look at what's happening across the country, starting with the National Assembly. Let me give it a quick refresh, then we have a good picture of what the situation as we speak. At the moment, the National Assembly, it looks as if the ANC is sitting with 57.6%. And again, when we look back in time, what that represents, oh my goodness, what have I done? What that represents is a drop in support, and this is what the analysts have been saying was going to be happening. They're down significantly. They were for many years above the 60-point mark, and now down below 50%. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue to unfold the story of these elections. And another quick update, the ANC, after 2,059 of the voting districts in Gauteng, up again to 50.4%, continuing to recover in the province. We'll have more after this.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them. So this lady from Outsurance calls you.
Yes, yeah? Friendly, vibrant, energetic, and she made that sale within 3 seconds. No, 3 sentences.
3 seconds is even better than 3 sentences.
She was good. Ended up saving almost 300 Rand per month.
How would you summarize your overall experience with Outsurance? 3 words.
Fresh, vibrant, and lekker.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. This car of yours is only that smell.
Yes.
Is it a new one?
It's new, my dear. First one.
So how long were you with your previous insurer?
For a month.
30
I only
days.
paid 1 premium. It was too much. I gave them a call.
Outsurance?
Yes. All my questions were answered, even some of the things, because I'm a new driver.
Yeah.
I was not aware of some things. They made a quote for me. I saved about 500 Rand. 2019. How?
Yes. If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put Outsurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
My previous insurance phoned and said they're going to put my premium up again. And I just thought, you know, really, I can't do this. I sent the SMS, immediately he phoned me. And he was really so sweet. He was so friendly. I couldn't believe it.
How much did you end up saving?
It was about 419 Rand. It's never too late. You must just do it. It's really, really worth it. It's going to change your life. It's changed my life.
Have you told anybody else about it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
I tell everybody. Wherever I go, I tell them.
They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save. So how did your path cross with Outsurance?
My nephew referred me because he had just switched and saved.
Yeah. How much did you save?
Over 900 Rand.
What are you doing with your saving every month?
I want to go to the Caribbean island. I want to go and get my groove back.
You need to give your nephew a shout out. Give him a shout out, Bonita.
Dale, you are awesome.
And now, she and Mr. Quipman are going to get their groove back. Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019, it's your time to save. Tell me about how you heard about Outsurance the first time.
I was contacted by a very, very friendly consultant. Gave me the amounts. Honestly, didn't believe it.
Why didn't you believe it?
It was too good to be true.
Now you're making me curious. What was the amount?
1,305 Rand difference. I was like, what? No ways. I screamed on the phone. Other guys sitting around me like, what's wrong with this guy?
Can we just have a moment of silence?
Thank you, Outsurance.
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
We're explorers. We always have been. Endlessly curious. Always looking for answers. For new frontiers. For new stories. Because that is who we are. From script to screen. From yelling action to taking you on a journey. Radio producers, script writers, on-air presenters, news reporters, sports analysts. We spend late nights creating captivating storylines and earlier mornings keeping you informed, educated, and entertained. For us, it's not a job, it's a calling. We do this and more because you do your part. SABC TV licenses, made possible by you.
The SABC News mobile app is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest in breaking news. Watch the SABC News channel along with clips and live streams of all the big news events. And listen to all the SABC News radio stations live, including podcasts and much more. Simply download the SABC News app to your Android or iOS device from either the Play Store or the App Store. SABC News, independent, impartial.
(1600) Central African Time. A very good afternoon to you. If you're just tuning in, this is the SABC News channel, and we're giving you live coverage of the results coming out of the Results Operations Centre in Johannesburg, in Pretoria rather, and across the country. I'm Peter Ndoro in our Auckland Park studios.
And I'm Frances Hurd at the Results Operations Centre, The Rock in Tshwane. Peter, on the board behind me, you'll see some very dismal...
All right, okay, so that's Francis, who we'll be going back to a little bit later on. A pity we lost the audio there, because I think the setting is there for the last leg of this results process. And what I can tell you is that we've got two provinces who are already complete, 100% complete counting. One of them is the Northwest, and after 100% count of all the votes there, the ANC has 61.87% of the vote, EFF 18.64% of the vote, and the DA 11.18%. Okay, so all of their 1,733 districts, voting districts, are fully accounted for now. And what it's telling us is that the ANC over time has shown a decrease. The last time they had an increase was in 2004, 2009 down to 72.89%, in 2014 down to 67%, and although still enjoying a huge majority, down to 61.87%. So that downward trajectory continuing in some of these provinces across the country. That was the Northwest, and I can tell you the other one that's completed is Mpumalanga, and the situation there, again, the ANC, strong majority there, 70.58% after all the votes have come through. And again, the situation that we have there is that trend of decreasing over time continues. At 2009, they peaked at 2004, they peaked at 86% of the vote, decreasing over the years, and in 2019, settling at 70.58%. All right, so people are very interested in what's been happening in Gauteng because it's seen as one of the battlegrounds, and the ANC had dipped below 50% a short while ago, but have started to pick up. We are now 74% of the votes counted at this stage, and they are 50.4% of the vote. So the ANC holding on to the province literally by a hair at the moment. Right, now, ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule paid a visit to the IEC Centre in Pretoria. His visit precedes that of the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. Magashule insists that the majority of South Africans still have confidence in the governing party. He, however, dismissed suggestions that Ramaphosa was key in ensuring victory for the party.
Well, there are provinces whose Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa is not the candidate premier. It's not. It's about the ANC. It's not about any individual. Completely not. Imagine if you say, I, as Magashule, have campaigned and all that. There was no way my voice will be stronger than branches of the ANC on the ground, volunteers of the ANC, communities. The people who have actually made us win elections are volunteers, communities, are people who love the ANC, voters of South Africa. There's no way you can talk about any individual within the ANC, and the ANC has never operated that way.
All right, so that's the ANC's Secretary-General, Ace Magashule, saying that it's a collective effort and not any one individual contributing to the victory of the party there. All right, so we're talking about the results and the election processes, and in studio with me is Terry Tsilane, who's the Executive Chairman of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, and he was with the IEC as its Vice Chair for many, many years. Terry, thanks very much for joining us. We started our conversation a little bit earlier on, and I want us to carry on now. This thumbprint, this mark on my finger, is one of the checks and balances in the process. And this has now become a point of contention because some people said they've been able to wipe it away. Were they, in your view, enough checks and balances? Because one of the things that they did this year was to allow this roaming where you could go to any voting station in your province to vote. And this is something that I haven't experienced before. And that was one of the checks and balances in the past. Do you think that it might have been a mistake to allow that to happen, to take away a check and balances when you should be having more?
I think there are two issues here. The first one relates to the ink and whether it is removable or not. And it is a matter that the Commission now has conducted or is conducting an audit in order to be able to clarify that issue. So after the investigation, we'll be able to see you know, what is the outcome thereof, and then how that we proceed from here. The second issue that you are raising is Section 24A of the Electoral Act, which basically enables a voter to vote at any voting station and not necessarily at the voting stations where they are registered. Now, that's a provision that came in 1999. And the reason why it came into the legislation, it is largely because, remember, we started with the development of the voters' roll in 1998. And there were many, many irregularities within the voters' roll. There were people who were placed by the scanner in different areas. So Section 24A came into operation in order to try to address that particular aspect. But I think the system now has matured and improved to the extent that that Section 24A is no longer necessary. In my opinion, it must be repealed, it must be removed from the Electoral Act. Yeah. And the reason why it is a problem, it is because when you plan your logistics, you plan logistics according to the number of people who are registered at a particular voting station. Right. So allocation of materials, it's in line with how many people are registered at a particular voting station. And now, if you allow everybody to go to any station, and then one station is more popular than the others, it means whatever you had actually rationed for that particular station is going to be depleted within a very short space of time. So that's why I'm saying that it is no longer necessary. The voters' roll has improved. Now the Commission is about to finalize the issues of addresses. You know where people live, and therefore, like in local government elections where a person is forced to vote where they are registered, I think
once we have removed Section 24A, because it's no longer relevant, it's no longer useful. In fact, it's creating more confusion than it is resolving anything. We should actually now be able to vote where we are registered.
All right, so let's talk about the situation that we're in now. Do you think that the integrity of these elections has been compromised to a degree that there might have to be a rerun? Because if one person can vote twice, that's a problem in the system. And when you have systemic issues, we don't know how many people actually, we caught 20 apparently, but there could have been more, and that's a problem.
You know, the beauty about our legal framework is that it's got a solution for each and every challenge. And again, I want to refer you to Section 56 of the Electoral Act. The Section 56 of the Electoral Act empowers the Commission or the Electoral Act to discount certain votes if either the Commission or the Electoral Court feels that the irregularities in that particular area were so high that you cannot actually be able to say there were credible elections taking place there. So the issue of a rerun is not an issue that would actually be taken lightly because of its implications for quite a number of other areas. So I suspect what the Commission is going to do, if after the audit they find that there were irregularities in certain areas, because you can't just say there were irregularities everywhere in the country. You've got to be able to pinpoint exactly where the irregularities happened and how those irregularities happened. And then after that, you can then invoke Section 56 of the Electoral Act, where you then say the votes at this particular voting station will not count, or part of them, part of the votes cast there will not count. Either the whole result or part of the result does not count. From
where you're sitting at the moment, do you think that the election is going to deliver a fair result?
I think to a large extent, you know, what we have already seen there is basically saying we've had credible results in spite of the hiccups and the difficulties that are there. The observers have already also issued statements. They were all over the country. And I think on the basis of that, you know, I can say that. But I think it is important for me to also add, because what we have seen, even where the results have been completed, it's not the declaration of the results that is happening there, because I've suggested to you that the results of the elections have got to be declared in terms of Section 57 of the Electoral Act. And that's where now the Commission will be able to say whether those elections, the results were credible or not credible. Now, there are many things that are going to be taken into consideration, of course, in order for them to come to a declaration. So we will wait for the Commission, for the Commission to declare the results. All the completed results are not declared results. The Commission will not declare those results until such time they've dealt with all Section 55 objections. They are busy now. It is one aspect dealing with the audits. There could be many others that they are dealing with. I can assure you right now, they are probably sitting somewhere in a boardroom looking with the recommendations from the legal team and trying to deal with all those issues as they emerge.
2019, how is it that we're not digital or biometric at this point? I mean, our next door neighbors, Namibia, DRC already have deployed technology. How is it that a country like ours, so far ahead of a lot of our peers in terms of resources, are still doing this?
My former colleagues in the IC will tell you that I've been the strongest advocate of electronic voting. And I still believe that the country now has reached a point where manual ballots are no longer sustainable. You had earlier on also former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, also saying that the time has arrived. I happened to be fortunate to have a conversation with him about 2 days ago, where we discussed also the possibility of introducing electronic voting. And I've been advocating for that. And I think South Africa has now reached that point, because with a number of the political parties that have now mushroomed, with the kind of the logistical difficulties that we have, and the fact that many irregularities actually happen during counting, it becomes important, therefore, that we begin to move in that direction. And I think the Commission, with a little bit of pressure from all over, will begin to explore that possibility.
All right, Terry, thanks so much indeed. Okay, we'll continue to chat. But in the meantime, my partner in crime this afternoon, Francis, is in Tshwane at the Results Operations Centre there. Francis?
Thank you very much, Peter. Yes, we're coming to you live from the Rock. Still a lot of activity in Tshwane, maybe because the president was expected earlier. That has been postponed indefinitely. Some of the parties who really made their presence felt are the smaller parties who since yesterday have been crying foul, saying the small numbers on the boards just don't add up. So let's speak now to Black First Land First leader Andile Mletama and also Claudi Motsoeneng, the ACM party under his leadership. Let's start with you, Mr. Mletama. 16,393 on the board behind me for Black First Land First. The quota, it looks like, to get into Parliament. So just to get one seat, 43,000. I don't think you're even a quarter way there, maybe just over a quarter way.
That must be a big relief for you, isn't it?
Embarrassing?
Isn't it? Big relief for you, right?
I'm indifferent.
Yeah, of course, I mean, white interests are so relieved. But that's not the point. The point that you see 16,000, and the bulk of our votes have been stolen systematically.
The fact is, black people aren't voting for you.
No, black people's votes have been stolen by the system, by Bidvest, a white company being given the tender by the IEC, a company which we know our president has got interest in. We know Pravin Gordhan has interest in. We know it's a party that has been making sure that radical economic transformation in this country is undermined.
Let's just question what you're saying. Are you saying the whole of the counting process has been outsourced to Bidvest? Because the IEC keeps quite strict control over the counting process.
The marking. You know this. Don't pretend they don't know that solid evidence, multiple voting is happening. It has happened, right? How did that happen, right? And these elections are clearly, I mean, under massive question mark, but we are saying they stole our votes, but our people
even
have
if people
come out.
double voted, they didn't vote for you.
Of course, our people, if they double voted, will be in. I mean, this is the point. We did not steal, other people stole. The whole elections, having outsourced it to Bidvest, clearly undermines the project of a free and fair elections. So there's a sigh of relief that white interests can have. You know how white monopoly capital land thieves have tried to stop us from being in Parliament. We've been in court every single day since the beginning of this election period, but we are here. 16,000 have managed.
To court, landing up on the front pages, many would say that's free advertising ahead of the campaign. That you got inordinate media coverage, especially given
demonization by the media. That is what has happened. Demonization by the media. Oh, these guys are bad. These guys are for land or death. This is a bad thing. That's what the court says. That's what the Human Rights Commission said. The Human Rights Commission, which when Julius Malema has a complaint against him, what did the the same Human Rights Commission do? They take him to court. They don't hire 5-6 lawyers to make sure that they get a decision against him. They rule that it is a protected speech. When complaints come against us, the same Human Rights Commission actually makes sure that we go to court. We understand. The whole 1994 project of saving the interests of whiteness is threatened by Black First, Land First. And we can see what has happened now. But we are saying to our people, thank you for voting us. We know it is not 16,000. We know it's much, much more. We know because you took us, you made sure you pay for us to be in these elections. And we want to say it's a luta continua. This country belongs to us, stolen by white people. We're going to reclaim it.
Mr. Motsoeneng, you're faring even worse, less than 4,000 votes. Is this an absolute flop in terms of your campaign?
No, look, it is not a flop. We as ACM, we did very well. A 4 months old movement, we did very well. We could
there are
not
tens of millions of people in South Africa, less than 4,000 voted
listen, because you want to push your own agenda. You ask me a question, I'm responding to you. I'm saying we did very well. In any case, these numbers that you see, we don't recognize them because they don't reflect our own members as voters. Example, I have 5,000 party agents in South Africa I mean, already when you have 5,000 party agents, already it's a given. You have 5,000 voters. So it doesn't make sense that number that you see there. It's rigging the votes because people are very afraid of me, because they know when I take over, South Africa will be different. Yeah. That's why media, they have been tarnishing myself, including Andile, because they know what we stand for. But here's the issue. My family went to a certain voting station. They arrived, 10 of them, including their friends. They voted for ACM. When they came back and then they redouble check and check, that voting station is saying 0% for ACM. That's why I'm saying they have been rigging our votes. And the target is people who are going to transform South Africa. And rest assured, moving forward, we are going to take this country by storm.
Is it not possible that your family members didn't vote for you? They said they did. You don't know who voted for what. Is it not possible that your own agents are not voting for you? They don't actually believe in your ability to run the country.
There is no way. That is the propaganda now in your minds, your imagination, that they didn't vote because you don't want to accept that the IEC rigged our votes, and we don't accept this votes. That's why we are saying, as political party, we need to rerun the elections, because we believe that there is something big wrong in this case. Example, IEC has already accepted that they have arrested people. Immediately, if you have arrested people, this means we don't have fair elections. And if you are fair, why do you run away from rerunning the elections? Because we want fairness. But I can tell you, people of South Africa, they believe in the ACM movement. I can tell you many people have voted for ACM in these elections. Another issue that I can tell you is, if you look at the social media, our own people who didn't know, remember, media denied us airtime to market our movement.
I remember the launch of your party.
So our movement was denied airtime, including the cause. And I'm saying the cause, they did not deny ACM justice. They denied South Africans justice. And I'm saying to you today, as I'm speaking, this ACM is going to rule South Africa. We are going to the ground. We are going to make sure that we take some of the municipalities. But if it was a seat, if we're getting seat...
Can I get a question? Are you not both just running away from the fact you've failed? Mr. Gitame, you called this the board of Satan behind us.
Of course.
Despite the double voting, if you had a good showing, you wouldn't be complaining. Is that not true?
I will be complaining as a matter of principle. In fact, we support those who want to take these elections to court. We are not going to court. I've been in court for every single day.
As a matter of principle, should you complain and undermine the IEC that has a good reputation locally and internationally, and then say we're not even going to court to prove it?
No. In fact, I've just said out there that the leadership of the IEC, I have respect for them. I believe the system just below that they have no control over, and this is where the rigging has happened. I don't think there was a conspiracy by the top leadership of the IEC to rig this election, but the political system, including white power, lower than that, has made sure that these elections are a mess. But here's the point. 16,000 and counting have said they stand with black first, land first. Today in that parliament, there's one party. Why call it EFF, ANC or DA, one party, and that's a party of white monopoly capital. I want to say now today, there shall be no land expropriation without compensation in that parliament. Come 5 years later, we will be sitting here, and they shall. Why? Because these parties are in the pockets of white monopoly capital, and the only real party of black people, us, are not in that parliament to make sure that they do the right thing. And it's unfortunate for our people. The biggest losers is not black first, land first. It's black people.
I'm sure the EFF will be quite insulted by this.
You're not the spokesperson of the EFF. White people are saying a sigh of relief. Freedom Front Plus, they voted for it. Black people, on the other hand, have been terrified to associate themselves with us. But we know those who did were robbed.
Let me ask you the same question I asked the Freedom Front Plus. They campaigned by highlighting race, by highlighting minorities, by saying we will fight back. Don't these results, I mean, the FF Plus did move forward. I concede that, but Don't the overall results show that many South Africans still cling to non-racialism? That's important to many of us as South Africans.
What is non-racialism in a country which is stolen by white people, still in the hands of white people? I mean, 35,000 white families own 80% of the land. The JSE, only black people have 3% of the land. 63% of black people are designated poor. We don't have the country, you have it. What is non-racialism? There is no non-racialism. What has happened is demonization.
I wish I had them in front of me, but certainly that JSE figure has been proved to be absolutely wrong. Can we just stick to the facts,
that white people will not even accept they stole our land. Thieves are never willingly ever going to concede that they are thieves. So the denial is part of the colonial project. To try to
have
justify.
You taken it up with the ANC that land reform, admittedly, has been slow? Land reform, even before we changed the constitution, even before expropriation.
No, but I mean, this is
land reform has been slow. But there's been the legal tools to do it.
Johan Rupert has got more than 15 interdicts against Black First, Land First, because we wanted to take his farms. The EFF and the ANC in Parliament have agreed to amend the Constitution. Together, they already have the two-third majority. They did not amend the Constitution. The question for this election should have been that. Why did you not amend the Constitution when you have the two-third majority? Well, the media is happy to put that question under the table and to allow them to campaign and say they will give black people land. They wouldn't. They failed because they are in the pockets of white capital.
Mr. Mtswaneng, again, my point is that you're both making claims. It would involve some sort of conspiracy from a lot of party agents, a lot of IEC officials, a lot of people involved in this election, including the electoral observers. Are you going to take this matter to court and come up with some evidence?
Look, we have already disputed the results. As I'm speaking to you...
But you haven't shown evidence.
No, there is evidence. Evidence is there. My officials are busy dealing with the matter and other political parties. The fact of the matter is we were robbed in these elections because people are afraid when it comes to us. But what I'm happy about is it is a 4-month-old movement. Have you ever seen a movement 4 months running like we are not walking? We are running. When we check those numbers, we are running.
So you are happy with less than 4,000 votes?
Sorry?
You're happy with less than 4,000 votes?
I know we have received many voters. We have been robbed. But I'm saying I'm happy about people of South Africa. Within 4 months, they were able to vote for ACM. If you check there, many people who have voted, I have never reached those places. You can imagine. If I go there and mobilize people, even in the Free State where I come from, I could not even reach my people in that village. I only reach one certain village. Now, this is the time. I'm saying to people of South Africa, this is the beginning for ACM to go and rebuild a stronger movement. Because for me, I'm not going to contest for opposition. I'm contesting to take power. If I was getting the seats here, I was not going to Parliament. My officials will go there so that I can rebuild the movement because I want power and I love power. I know how to use power.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Given this poor showing, what's next for BLF?
No, it's a very good showing for us. 16,000 counted, many more thousands stolen. Our people are clear. They hear what our message is. We are going to rebuild, and we are building outside. Parliament will have helped us to build outside, bring us resources, bring us some kind of legitimacy. But we are a party that has made noise, a lot of noise out of Parliament. Those who think we are not in Parliament, we're going to stop making noise, organizing to take land, are mistaken. We are going to confront white capital head on.
Mr. Mtswaneng, what's next for you?
I want to say to people
I'd also like to know how much money have you spent on the campaign? Does this feel like a financial drain?
We spent 20,000, I can tell you now.
20,000.
EFF spent 200,000. I'm told the ANC more than 300,000. I mean 20 million. The ANC more than 300 million. We spent about 20,000. I had about 2,000. I've not paid for them. 2,000 like posters. So we came to these elections with nothing, and that 16,000, which is part of what came through for us, shows that our people really were on our side.
Mr. Mtswaneng, did this hurt you financially again?
No, look, we spend a lot of money, but I'm not going to give you the specifics because I spend my own money. Other people contributed, those who have money, to make sure that we contest the elections, but we spend huge of money. But what is more important for us, this old movement 4 months only, it has done well. I want to say to people of South Africa, this is the beginning. This is not the end. This is the beginning for a waiting government to take over. We are going to work together to make sure that we as South Africans, we are able to run South Africa. And I'm saying to people, today, we respect their wish, but they have voted for history, not their future. They have voted for poverty and unemployment. They have voted for landless. It is us who can change the lives of our people in South Africa.
Final question. You're still talking about leading South Africa on the board. They're less than 4,000 votes. The numbers are there. Some people think you're out of touch with reality. Your comment on that?
No, people who think proper. Not people who think with imaginations and they have their own views. They know that
they
within 4 months...
head is in the clouds.
No, they know that we did very well within these 4 months. And what is more important, we could not reach every corner because of money. And this issue of money is a serious problem. We want to also to check who are these people who are funding these other political parties. Maybe we need a Zondo commission to zoom into these parties that are being funded by other people. In any case, after 25 years, why we don't have black people as billionaires? Where is this money going to? I know this money, it goes to other organizations. It pays other organizations.
Okay, I think we forgot about Patrice Motsepe there, but thank you both gentlemen for your time this afternoon. Thank you. Andile Mletama from the BLF and Claudie Mtswaneng from the ACM. Some of the small parties crying foul about the results. We take a short break.
Part of Africa, we're giving its people the great future it deserves with an investment partner like no other, you. We've invested 120 billion rands of our money and yours into creating more than just hope for this beautiful continent we call home. We're sustaining our soil and enriching lives. We're giving our children a brighter tomorrow. We're investing in small businesses to grow the economy. And we're bringing warmth and light to the people who need it most. And by investing in our planet, we're passing this all on to future generations too. Great things are possible when we invest together. That's why we're invested in changing Africa's tomorrow.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them.
I work for a car dealership. Many of my clients that buy cars have to sort out the insurance.
Yes.
And hearing from them on a daily basis how much money they save from our insurance, I had to make the call myself.
Your clients switched you, the car dealer. How much did you end up saving?
Just over 300 rand a month. Switch up now, going to the new year.
Yeah.
2019, make it yours.
Yeah.
As we say, 2019.
Oh, that hits the spot. 2019. If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
Well, I'm doing my articles in chartered accountancy, so I have financial knowledge. What she said just made sense, so we switched and saved.
How much did you end up saving?
Almost 450 rand.
You guys have children yet?
No, but the mother-in-law is pushing very hard.
If you can convince your mom-in-law to switch and save, that'll get you 1,000 rand off of your next monthly premium. With the money she saves, it's a win-win situation.
Mother Frida, if you want babies, you must switch and save.
Yo! If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put OutSurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
It was a simple telephone call, informed him of the basics. I had had an accident. With most insurance, once you've had an accident, they increase your premium. And then when he told me this is what the premium he would be, are you sure? Did you hear that I had an accident?
How much did you end up saving?
Half of my previous premium, almost 500 rand. Start your year off on the right foot.
They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
So what happened is I made the phone call and I asked Olisa to just call me back. He explained everything to me, a meaningful conversation.
How much did you actually end up saving?
Almost 750 rands. That's how I switched and saved. But I'm glad our paths crossed.
We could make an outsurance connection here. Have you and Tolisa gone out on a date or something?
No, it was just insurance.
Oh, is it your time?
Yeah, it's my time.
Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019. It's your time to save. How did your path with outsurance cross?
And I saw this advert about this guy, Chacha. So Mr. Chacha got me thinking, if I do switch and save, I won't just do the Chacha, I'll be doing the tango.
And the difference that you're now saving?
Is just over 900 rand.
In 3 words, summarize your experience.
Smart, professional, and they saved me money.
You know that last one was like 4 words.
I know, but that's how good they are.
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
Welcome back. You are watching the SABC News channel, and what we're doing is going around the country, chatting to our reporters, giving us feedback on what's been happening on the ground as the results have started to come in. And I can tell you that a number of provinces are at 100% voting districts counted. Nothing has been declared yet, so you can dance in the streets all you want, but it's not a result yet until the IEC declares the results for this year's elections, because a lot of things still need to happen, queries need to be sorted out. But what we've been able to do is using technology developed by the CSIR, modeling predictions. Let's start with, let's take a look at 3 provinces, for example. So let's start with Mpumalanga. Their legislature there, the 100% of the voting districts counted at this stage, not declared, of course. So what we're seeing here is using modeling. This is what we believe that the seats will look like in the Mpumalanga legislature. There are 30 seats available. Right now it looks as if the ANC will occupy 22 of those seats, the EFF 4 of those seats, the DA 3, and the Freedom Front Plus, the surprise package for the 2019 elections, will occupy 1 of those seats. All right, let's go to the Northwest province. And the Northwest is, this is the situation there. Also, again, 100% of the voting districts counted. This is what we predict using modeling, what the seats will look like in the legislature there. 33 seats available. And based on what's happened so far, it looks as if the ANC will get 21 seats in the legislature there. The EFF will get 6 seats, the DA 4, and there you go, the Freedom Front Plus again, the new child on the block, 2 seats in the Northwest legislature. Okay, the Northern Cape, and we're going to be going there shortly actually to one of our reporters who's in Kimberley. Their legislature there has 30 seats available and 100% of the voting districts counted. And this is again using the modeling by the CSIR. This is what we predict the seats will look like, allocation. The ANC will get 18 seats in that legislature, the DA 8 seats, the EFF 3, the Freedom Front Plus will have 1 seat. So that's the Northern Cape. Perhaps a final look, again, you know, the national picture, the National Assembly, 400 seats there available. Let's take a look and see if we've got that graphic there. 400 seats available in the National Assembly. And again, only 92% of the voting districts counted so far. This is not a declared result. And based on modeling, given what we know so far, we believe that Parliament is going to look like this. The ANC will have a majority, 57.8%, 231 seats that equates to in Parliament. The DA, the official opposition, will have 84 seats, and the EFF will have occupying more seats in Parliament. 41 members will be sitting in Parliament, and the IFP, enjoying good gains this year, will have 14 seats in Parliament, and And we believe Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi is going to be an MP. Even though he might be retiring from the leadership of his party, he'll still be seen in Parliament. And the Freedom Front Plus, look at that, 10 seats they'll be occupying in Parliament. Again, and others 20. This is a prediction. This is what we think it's going to look like based on where we're at now, 92.8% of the voting districts counted. We'll continue monitoring that for you. But before we go to Reginald Witbooi in the Northern Cape, where we've just had an opportunity to look at what the legislature is going to look like there, let me chat once again to Terry Tselane, who's been at this game for many, many years and now is a strategic consultant to various countries here and abroad. Terry, is it possible for the Commission of Inquiry to declare a result even before all the votes are in?
The results of an election are declared by the Commission, the Electoral Commission. So yes, the Commission is empowered again in terms of Section 57 to declare the results before they are all completed. If the Commission believes that there will not be any material difference to the overall outcome of the results of that election.
All right, so there's no likelihood of that happening in South Africa. All right, so just before we saw Hlaudi Motsoeneng of the African Content Movement saying that 10 of my family members went to a voting station and they voted for the ACM, but it says 0% declared. Explain to our viewers how that might be.
You know, this is the beauty about the secret ballot. You know, even if I can make a commitment to you, once I'm alone in my ballot booth, I can make a decision about what I believe it is correct. And therefore, it is possible that those members, once they got into a ballot booth, they realize that they do not necessarily support the party, they're going to support whatever resonates with them. But again, because I've said that in the legislation, you have a solution for everything. If Mr. Hlaudi believes that there is an issue, he can still lodge a complaint or an objection with the Commission in terms of Section 55 and say and demand that that voting station be recounted. It's going to, the ballot papers for that station is going to be open in the presence of party liaison committee members representing all the political parties, and recount will happen for that particular voting station.
So along the way, we talked about the checks and balances that the IEC, the Electoral Commission, puts for itself to make sure that it delivers a free and fair election. There is a role that party agents for each party have in this process, because they too are helping in the checks and balances. I get a sense that sometimes they're not really sure of why they're there and what their role is. They could have prevented some of the issues at site at that point, even before it gets too far.
I think that's a critical element that you are raising. And then what I've noticed is that the majority of the political parties do not actually understand the legal framework within which the elections happen. And then therefore, you know, you have a situation where people who are agents of political parties at the local level, they do not even understand the legal framework, they don't understand their rights, they don't understand what they are observing and how they're supposed to be observing them. Most of them are not properly trained. And I think this is an opportunity for political parties to reflect and to find mechanisms through which they can actually take their members through proper training. I understand some of the political parties have got some schools where they're training people. This is an opportunity for them to be trained, and this is an opportunity for IMSA to be training all these party agents.
All right. Does the Electoral Commission train as well these party agents, the political parties, and saying this is what you can or cannot do, or do they just get a little book like this one?
If a party requests the Commission to train their members, the Commission does create some kind of mechanism through which training can happen. But if a political party wants really an in-depth training for its members so that they understand the framework within which all these things are happening, how they should conduct themselves, what they should do, I think it is better if they actually conduct their own and then take time and go through a thorough process to be able to do that.
All right, Terry, thanks so much for clearing up some of those issues. And we continue to move around the country. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go to that special part of the country where you find that big hole in the ground in the Northern Cape.
As part of Africa, we're giving its people the great future it deserves with an investment partner like no other, you. We've invested 120 billion rands of our money and yours into creating more than just hope for this beautiful continent we call home. We're sustaining our soil and enriching lives. We're giving our children a brighter tomorrow. We're investing in small businesses to grow the economy. And we're bringing warmth and light to the people who need it most. And by investing in our planet, we're passing this all on to future generations too. Great things are possible when we invest together. That's why we're invested in changing Africa's tomorrow.
While South Africa's 6th general election had the entire country fixated on the leaderboard, results board results charts for days. While there were winners, losers and a few surprises, there were rude awakenings, sobering moments, joy, anger, relief and disappointments. Well, watch Unfiltered on the SABC News channel and SABC3 at 20:30 on Sunday. I'll see you then.
Welcome back. You're still watching the SABC News channel, and we're bringing you live coverage of the results process that's coming out of the Results Operations Centre in Tshwane, in Pretoria, but also around the country. There's various ROCs that are happening there as well. And in the Northern Cape, all the voting districts have been counted, and before the results are declared, I think there's already some celebrations taking place. Let's find out now from our reporter in the province, Reginald Witboy. Thanks very much for joining us. What's the story in the Northern Cape?
Good afternoon to you, Peter. We are coming to you from the Metis Periphery Centre here in Kimberley, and this was the venue for the IEC's Northern Cape's Results Operations Centre. But now flags and the banners of the IEC, it's down because, as you've mentioned, 100% of the voting districts have been declared. The ANC sitting at 57%, the DA at 25% and the EFF at 8%, also coming in there with the Freedom Front Plus at 2%. Now in 2014, the ANC had 64%, so that's basically a decline of 7%. The DA had an increase. In 2014 they had 23%, now sitting with 25%. The EFF doubled their percentage. When they entered the political landscape in 2014, they had 4%, but they are now sitting at 8%. The Freedom Front Plus didn't even feature that time, but surprisingly enough, to many surprises, they entered or they are on the list, and they might have a seat on the provincial legislature here in the Northern Cape. Now, if we are going to talk about celebrations here in the Northern Cape, I haven't seen any celebrations as yet. If we are going to speak about political parties, the ANC had a press briefing earlier on, and they said they respect the IEC and they are congratulating the IEC for the work they've done in handling the voting process and the manner it was done. Also saying thanks to the volunteers who offered their time for millions of South Africans to come out and cast their votes. The DA basically said that they are not actually very much happy because they actually wanted to take control of this province. The EFF say they are actually happy because their percentage doubled this time around, and that they in the near future they actually want to see more people come out and vote for the EFF and also for any political party of their choice. Now, the turnout for this province was 64%. Now, earlier on also, when the ANC held a press briefing, we know that a new premier have to be chosen for this province. We know that the current premier, Sylvia Lucas, she is no longer, or she's not going to be the premier anymore. The ANC said that they have they've submitted 3 names, and those 3 names, it's going to the National Executive Committee of the ANC now, and then on the 22nd of May, we might have a new premier for this province, Peter.
Reginald, thanks very, very much indeed. So that's one of the provinces that's finished counting its voting districts, and it's one of the smallest, in fact, in terms of population, and perhaps why it was easy to count. Gauteng still continues to unfold, and we'll have more details on that. But before we say goodbye to this particular hour, we're going to say goodbye to Terry Tselane. Thanks so much indeed for your insights today, and some of the things that you shared with us. I get a sense that, you know, we should be happy with our progress over time in terms of electoral processes.
No, thank you very much for having me here, and then I agree with you completely.
Great, thanks very much indeed, Terry. All right, okay, now months of preparations and campaigning finally at an end. Success for some, whilst the ballot box delivered a harsh reality for others. But shortly it will be back to the drawing board, preparing for the local government elections.
The voters have spoken. There will be celebrations in newcomer or two, but a tough time for some established players.
You know, I think looking at COPE in particular, it had its own leadership factional battles that it was fighting, and I think that could have had quite an impact. Similarly, the party really lost a lot of traction from 2014 onwards. The AIC, of course, is interesting. It's a party born in Matatiele over a border dispute between the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. And previous elections, some of our research has shown that there was confusion between the AIC and the ANC name and emblem and symbol and so forth. So those are some of the factors that play in there.
And at this point in time, the South Africans have spoken, and we need to, with whatever is facing us, but we also need to accept that they have spoken. And in our case, with the Congress of the People, we are now, obviously, we are not going to have someone in the legislature, but we have councillors here. And we too are going to do introspection and work towards the next locally government.
Indications are that one of the new kids in the bloc, the ATM, will taste electoral success in the Eastern Cape.
As the African Transformation Movement from now on, it is about going to different sectors of our society. It is about continuing to plant the message that we are all about. Though people see us as a Christian-based organization, but we are a faith-based. We are more welcoming, and not only that, other sectors of our society are welcomed within the ATM. We will continue engaging as we have started, because we believe that the message of the decolonized South Africa and industrialized South Africa, a South Africa where traditional leadership, there is an alignment of customary law to the constitution of the country.
The ANC is on track to maintain its majority in the Eastern Cape, but the party acknowledges it needs to fulfill the mandate of the voters.
What we are saying is that yes, we have noted that the formation of this new political party, some of them rode either on tribal lines, some of them rode either on religious grounds, that they formed their parties and those kind of things. And when you are looking at other political parties, you can actually see that these new people took from them votes. It's not votes from the ANC. We are quite confident around those issues. But obviously it must also stir us as the ANC to work so much harder for the people and making sure that the government machinery is out there to connect with our people, give information, impart, go back.
The final election results is scheduled to be announced on Saturday. Ivwe Boti, SABC News, East London.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them. Tell me how you feel about being in one of these insurance ads that you've seen on TV.
It's exciting. The husband is a bit jealous.
When you did make that call, what was the experience like?
They listened to you and they helped you save.
How much did you end up saving?
Almost 500 rand a month. With the savings, we can do more things as a family. Switch and save.
Yes! When?
Now.
Right now?
Yes.
Tell them.
It's your time, it's your time, it's your time, it's your time.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. So how did you hear about insurance?
So it was a TV ad. Normal day-to-day people hearing their testimonials and hearing how much insurance saved them. You want to put up your hand and say, that's me. I want to save money. Often you see these ads and you think, okay, well, they've been told what to say, but it's not. And you ask the question.
You're not a professional actor?
No.
How much did you end up saving?
300 rand. Cha-cha.
If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put insurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. So how did your path cross with insurance?
My nephew referred me because he had just switched and saved.
Yeah. How much did you save?
Over 900 rand.
What are you doing with your saving every month?
I want to go to the Caribbean island. I want to go and get my groove back.
You need to give your nephew a shout out. Give him a shout out, Bonnie.
Dale, you are awesome.
And now, she and Mr. Quipman are going to get their groove back. They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
So what happened is I made the phone call and I asked Olisa to just call me back. He explained everything to me, a meaningful conversation.
How much did you actually end up saving?
Almost 750 rands. That's how I switched and saved. But I'm glad our paths crossed.
We could make an insurance connection here. Have you and Kolisa gone out on a date or something?
No, it was just insurance.
Oh, is it your time?
Yeah, it's my time.
Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019, it's your time to save.
Made a call, so what did I have to lose, right? I had the nicest conversation with Naz. He ended up saving me over 1,000 rand.
What?
Yeah.
How long were you then with your previous insurer?
Around 2009.
Nearly a decade.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money there that you could have saved, right? Let's focus on the future. If you were to give somebody advice about starting off the new year.
Make 2019 yours. Have a 2019.
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
The SABC News mobile app is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest in breaking news. Watch the SABC News channel along with clips and live streams of all the big news events. And listen to all the SABC News radio stations live, including podcasts and much more. Simply download the SABC News app to your Android or iOS device from either the Play Store or the App Store. SABC News, independent, impartial.
We're explorers. We always have been, endlessly curious, always looking for answers, for new frontiers, for new stories. Because that is who we are. From script to screen, from yelling action to taking you on a journey. Radio producers, script writers, on-air presenters, news reporters, sports analysts. We spend late nights creating captivating storylines and earlier mornings keeping you informed, educated, and entertained. For us, it's not a job, it's a calling. We do this and more because you do your part. SABC TV licenses. Made possible by you.
While South Africa's 6th general election had the entire country fixated on the leaderboard, results board results charts for days. While there were winners, losers and a few surprises, there were rude awakenings, sobering moments, joy, anger, relief and disappointments. Well, watch Unfiltered on the SABC News channel and SABC3 at 20:30 on Sunday. I'll see you then.
When South Africans go to the polls, SABC News gives you names you can trust. Sakina, Criselda, Peter, Stephen, Tsepiso, Francis, Blaine, Leanne. South Africa votes. Live coverage starts Wednesday at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
Political parties have delivered their manifestos, and now it's time for you to make sense of it all. From campaigning to declarations.
Let's speak to the people on the ground.
We are sick of crime.
Interesting comments coming from the ground there.
SABC News delivers unrivaled, unrestrained coverage, giving you the platform to express your views.
I want more job opportunities.
SABC News will be live from all corners of the country. You will get expert analysis in all languages, party reactions, and the true story behind the numbers.
It's all about the numbers.
Across 4 TV stations, 19 radio stations, and online platforms. SA Decides 2019. SABC News. Independent, impartial.
On Trends Travel, we bring you a full guide on all things lifestyle related. With so much to discover, we give you comprehensive reviews of places to visit, music, travel, and food. We also explore the arts, whether on or off stage. All this and more, be sure to tune into Trends Travel, Saturdays at 5:30 p.m.
A very good afternoon to you, 1700 Central African Time. You're watching special coverage of the SA Elections 2019 SA Decides, and we've been giving you the results process which has been unfolding for the last day and a half or so. And we're starting to come to the end of that process, actually, as more and more provinces continue to count 100% of their voting districts. We'll be crossing across the country to some of our reporters who are giving us live updates at various locations. I'm Peter Ndoro. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's begin. Well, with more than 90% of the vote counted, smaller parties will continue to voice their objections. The BLF says that it supports other smaller parties with their court bid, but his party won't be joining in. ACM's Claudio Mutsuwaneng says that the IEC results are illegitimate.
These numbers that you see, we don't recognize them because they don't reflect our own members as voters. Example, I have 5,000 party agents in South Africa. I mean, already when you have 5,000 party agents, already it's a given. You have 5,000 voters. So it doesn't make sense that number that you see there. It's rigging the votes because people are very afraid of me, because they know when I take over, South Africa will be different.
It's a very good showing for us. 16,000 counted, many more thousands stolen. Our people are clear. They hear what our message is. We are going to rebuild, and we are building outside. Parliament will have helped us to build outside, bring us resources, bring us some kind of legitimacy. But we are a party that has made noise, a lot of noise out of Parliament. Those who think we are not in Parliament, we're going to stop making noise, organizing to take land, are mistaken. We are going to confront white capital head on.
So, not many losses for the ANC in the Eastern Cape. The party now stands at 68%. But let's go all the way to the Eastern Cape and join Lerato Tipa, who's there, who's been watching the elections from there. Lerato, thanks very much for joining us. And this is a strong ANC province. Have people started celebrating already?
Yes, actually, as early as last night, when only about 70% of the votes were counted, we were called to a mini pre-celebration where the ANC was saying that, you know what, even at 70% of the votes in, they are so sure that they will win. So as late as last night and even this morning, and I hear even on Sunday, the ANC is going to celebrate, saying that was anticipated because of the hard work they've put in to make sure that they garner votes for this election.
All right, so what is the position in terms of the final tallies?
The final tally is that the ANC obviously is leading in the Nelson Mandela Metro and also in the Eastern Cape as well, followed by the DA and the EFF. What has been interesting really in this metro is that in the 2016 local government elections, the ANC saw their greatest defeat, and obviously they were trying now the national elections to try and make sure that they secure the metro. They have gone up when you compare them to 2016, but then when you compare them to 2014, they actually have dropped by 2%. They were at 48% in 2014, but now at 46%. So it is a victory in some sort of way, but also not a victory because in terms of the national vote, they've lost 2%. The DA, we spoke to the DA and they were saying that they've also dropped in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, saying that they wanted obviously more votes, but saying that overall they're happy with how things have turned out. Then there's the EFF, the kingmakers, who have always been the ones that are able to make decisive decisions in council. They've really done well for a party formed 5 years ago. They've done really well and really regained support in this metro and in the Eastern Cape as well.
All right. Have people been able to figure out why the DA has lost support in this province? Was it all the infighting at local government level? Was it white conservatives going to the Freedom Front Plus? Has anybody been able to explain the situation in the Eastern Cape?
Earlier this morning, I had an interesting interview with political analyst Ongama Mtimka, and he was saying that the reason why he feels like people in the metro and perhaps in other provinces as well that have walked away from the DA is that he feels that the national issues that are facing the DA with so many internal fights nationally have trickled down to the metros, and people are saying that if it is that way at the top, then surely even the local government is also not performing well as well. So he was just saying that he really does feel that the issues facing the DA are there at a national level, and that perception that's going on at the national level is causing a decrease of voters even in the metros as well.
All right, and the EFF obviously pleased with their position, 7.79% of the vote. This is one of the new parties, but certainly making their presence felt now at a provincial level. What have they been saying to you as the media?
What has really stood out about the EFF, especially as us as journalists who go to council every now and then, and also the perception people get about the EFF, is that they're able to stand by their convictions. If something is passing council, they don't like it, they don't go with the majority, they stand firm with whatever decision they make. And I think when people look at the EFF, they see people that are able to make decisions and stick to them and stick to their convictions as well. So they really obviously are happy. We spoke to EFF councillor Mr. Venn, and he was saying that, you know what, people in the shacks, young people, the middle class in the metro, overall he feels that the EFF is appealing to the wide variety of audiences in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, and that's why their votes have increased in the Eastern Cape and in the metro as well.
All right, so Lerato, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much indeed. That's Lerato Tipa, who's speaking to us from Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, where, of course, the challenges at local government level played out. Athol Trollip was mayor for a time, and then there was a shake-up as people swapped floors, crossed floors. But it does seem at the figures there, after 98.87% of the vote completed in the province, 68.75% going to the ANC. One then would have asked the question, if the local government elections were run now, might the ANC actually get a majority, despite their poor showing at the local government elections a little bit earlier on? Okay, we continue. Where are we going? Right, let's go to Kliptown, and there we'll find Gillian Pillay, who's been observing the elections from the ground, literally. Gillian, what's the situation where you are?
Very good afternoon to you, Peter. Yes, we're coming to you live from the Mandela Square informal settlement. And in the conversations that we've had with a lot of residents on voting day, as well as yesterday's reactions, still a lot of frustrations from those who did not vote for the ANC. The writing is quite clear now, as you said earlier, Peter. You know, the ANC hanging on to for Gauteng, one of the most hotly contested provinces. But from the results there, we see they are at 50%, whether that will change. And we saw the pattern this morning, Peter, really up and down with the results that has come in around Gauteng. We're talking to different people from different parties just to get a sense of what do they think now about the results as it stands. You'll know that there was a lot of frustrations around the kind of non-service delivery that people had about in the run-up to the elections, but also with them on voting day as well as yesterday. We are joined now by John Solomons. John, just your views on the way the picture is looking now, the hanging on to a nice edge for Gauteng, the DA trailing, and it seems that has your work paid off?
It doesn't look like that, because now that after all the service delivery strikes and everything that happened, all the promises that was not kept, I couldn't know how people can just go and still and vote for ANC. So I don't believe that this vote was really a transparent vote. I don't think people can just go and vote for a party which they've complained against, a party that they said, no, this people is not delivering. How overnight now you come in and then you say, no, let me vote for them, maybe they'll come right, and it's been 26 years already. How can they come right overnight? So this thing of people going to vote for the ANC in this huge amount, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it.
People would say that you're disgruntled. What are your feelings? Now another 5 years will have to be under the ANC.
Yeah, they might say I'm disgruntled, yeah, it's fine. But for any person that is logic, that can think properly for themselves, how can you vote for someone that's keep on promising you, keep on breaking their promise, but you'll still go back and say, no, they might keep their word this time? How can you do that? So I do not believe that people can do that. People are not as gullible as they want to portray that people are. So which means what the ANC wants to say, that South Africa is gullible. There's nothing else that South Africans can think but except thinking that the ANC can do this. I mean, Liberation Party and all that things it's long gone, man. It's long gone.
Peter, we're still in conversation with some other residents here. Your views just on the way the results picture is standing now?
My view, clearly, I'm feeling disappointed. Being a DA activist, working hard, sunburned since last year, I keep on saying I had some because I did, so I'm really disappointed. I don't think this was a fair elections, really. I really don't think so.
But the question that's being asked now, another 5 years under this administration.
Well, I just say shame for us all, really, because I don't think it's going to happen. Because, I mean, Ramaphosa was part of the whole team, so what's going to make now that he's going to change everything? I don't think so. Somebody fresh, somebody young like Musimamani. This is the sort of president. We need a current president that is current with the lifestyle that we are living now. We don't need those old apartheid presidents that still want to think about apartheid. We need somebody current.
But the voters have spoken, and you can see what they have said.
Well, did the voters speak? That is the big question. I think the voters have spoken.
Peter, we're still in conversation with EFF. There was quite a lot of contestation, a lot of wooing of voters for the EFF, and they have, you know, they've garnered or made a lot of headway with getting votes this time round, but not enough to take Gauteng or take the national picture.
When it comes to for the nation, EFF, okay, I understand. A lot of people, I think, where in our area here in Mandela Square in Kliptown as a whole, as Ward 17, a lot of people, they have take their vote for the national to the ANC, because, and for my side, what I think, people of Kliptown, they are not aware that ANC is playing with their lives since from 1994 up to so far. Now they have 25 years, but nothing is happening. I think even yourself, you can see what's happening. This place look like a pig, where the pigs they can live. That is why maybe a lot of people they used to come to the people telling them the lies. People they agree with them. So, but up to so far about the results, I'm happy about for EFF because it's showing us so that we are growing now. Yeah, we cannot go to the national, but the province, other provinces where we gonna get a local municipality. Because I think next time everything's gonna change. Maybe people they gonna open their eyes so that why we didn't vote party. I think this part ANC they must take out all those old people there because all people of the ANC the cabinet old. They have to come. They must come out there and come to get a grant, give a so that they can rule. You remember last time, Mostani, when the ANC Youth League, they say, they asked the president so that why we those old people, because now we could challenge. Opposite parties are the young people. Why you can't step down and then we get there?
Peter, a lot of remedies from those who went to the poll, not necessarily for the ANC, looking at how the picture will pan out. Also, a lot of conspiracy theories around why the ANC has taken a province like Gauteng, looking at all the kinds of social service delivery protests that we saw playing out here pre-election run-up. We'll bring you more reaction on the ground from Soweto during the course of the evening, Peter.
All right, Gillian, thanks very much indeed. So that's Gillian Pillay talking to us there from Kliptown, and she's talking to some of the residents there. They're not happy, but as Gillian was saying, that the voters of Gauteng have spoken, and I can give you an update now of the current situation in Gauteng. And after 76.36% of the voters' voting districts counted, the ANC now has 50.66% of the vote, the DA 27.23%, EFF 14.38%. And this is significant because this is seen as a battleground state, especially given after the local government elections that happened 2 years ago. But the ANC seems to be holding on, but literally by a hair's breadth at the moment. But coming back from below 50%, they're now at 50.66%. All right, so the elections have been watched by many, many people, and South Africa's political landscape will be set for the next 5 years in no time as these results start coming in. The rand strengthened to its highest in 2 weeks as election results showed that the ANC remain well in the lead. Well, the IEC is expected to announce the final election results tomorrow, but this could be delayed given some of the queries that are being raised. Now, to talk to us about economic issues around these elections, I'm now joined on the line by Efficient Group Chief Economist Davi Ruud. Davi, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Always a pleasure to talk to you. So before these elections, investors had pressed pause. Markets started to get a bit jittery as we got into the closing days. And people were even talking about Cyril Ramaphosa needing 60% plus. I just wonder, how have the markets reacted in the last couple of days? And is this now the signal to take off the pause button for investors?
Good afternoon to you, yes. Well, looking at election day itself, of course, the financial markets were closed except for the rand, the forex markets. And the rand initially started off on the back foot, but during the day, actually quite early in the morning, the rand started appreciating against the US dollar, and that is why while the dollar itself was quite a strong currency. And then afterwards it weakened a little bit again, but it stabilized on a relatively strong levels. But judging from the reaction of the exchange rate of the rand, the financial markets are actually quite happy. What we've seen subsequently is, again, of course, there are international factors at play as well. But what I would say, looking at the bond market as an example, is that the financial markets are happy. The financial markets are happy simply because there are no major shakes. Of course, the ANC got to where they were before the elections in terms of support, but we all know that the ANC is still in charge. And the next question will be, I think there are two issues here. The next question is, will the president be able to consolidate his political power? And we will know that once he announced his cabinet, and that will give us an indication on whether he really succeeded in consolidating his power. Essentially, the financial markets will be asking, who's going to be in charge, the good guys or the bad guys? And once we know who's going to be in cabinet, then, of course, the financial markets will have a better idea on what can be expected in terms of policy going forward. So for now, the election basically is behind us for practical purposes. If you look at the financial market, the next question certainly is who's going to be in cabinet and that will be determinant on what's going to happen on the financial markets.
All right, so the first cabinet might be a good signal, and I suppose some of the election promises, big issue was land, and he was always very careful in how he couched that land question, and I just wonder if that may be the next signal that the international community, investors might be looking at.
In fact, I think it will not sort of go away, but I think it will become much less important. Politicians, they promise us the sun and the moon and the stars before elections, and after that, they don't necessarily deliver. And I think this is also one of those examples. And part of the reason why I say so is because there are far more pressing issues, like, for example, what's going on at the state-owned enterprises, especially what is going on at Eskom. The state finances are in really deep trouble. So I am pretty sure that, of course, those issues, what you've mentioned, will still be there, but there are far more important, far bigger, more important things for the president to address, like what I've mentioned. So yes, still be there, but I think the international investment community will be more concerned on what's going to happen to Eskom and other things that I've mentioned.
All right, and I suppose for the ratings agencies, one of the contingent risks was the elections. That's behind us. What will they be focusing on now in the coming days to give them assurance, and what does it mean for us?
Well, yeah, firstly, of course, like I've said, the composition of the cabinet, and that will be actually the major signal. After that, I think we will have to wait to see who's going to be the Minister of Finance, what sort of things the Minister of Finance will be saying, trade and industry, the so-called economic cluster, those sort of things, and what they're going to be saying over the next couple of weeks will be very important. And I think also what the rating agencies will be waiting for is what sort of plan is the government going to make as far as Eskom? Because there are some major financial issues when it comes to Eskom, and not only Eskom, many of the other central enterprises and the state itself. And I think that is going to be determined by the rating agencies. Where are you going to get the money? How are you going to spend this? And will that be enough to save Eskom and the other state enterprises and the fiscus itself?
All right. And then perhaps finally, for us as consumers and people looking for jobs, might this be a little flicker of hope in terms of the economy turning around and producing those jobs?
Well, certainly it can, and again, it depends on who's going to be in charge, the good guys or the bad guys, and I think you know what I mean by that. But I am afraid, and it's important for us to say this and to understand this, that the South African economy is in very deep trouble. And it's not going to be difficult to get us out of this hole. And in order to get us out of this hole, the president and the new cabinet need to take some very tough decisions and administer very difficult to swallow medicine. And that may even include actually forcing the economy through a recession in the short term in order to make sure that we have some better economic prospects going forward. So there's absolutely no doubt, and we all have to be very honest about this, that we are in very deep trouble. It's going to end, but the sooner we take these difficult measures, the sooner we'll be out of that. But I'm afraid the current trajectory is simply unsustainable, and we have to take very difficult decisions, which may actually lead to a slowdown in economic activity in the short term, in order to grow the economy in the medium longer term.
Davie Rood, always always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. That's Davy Ritt joining us on the line, the chief economist at the Efficient Group. And talking about some tough decisions being made, I was speaking to our foreign editor just the other day, and she said she spoke to the national chairperson of the ANC, and one of the indicators that they gave her was that the cabinet is likely to be reduced. So we'll see a smaller cabinet in the coming days, and also greater involvement in international relations by South Africa. All right, we continue with our journey across the country, and we're now going to go to Polokwane, where we're going to catch up with Beatrice Magwale. Beatrice, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's coming towards the end of the day, but give us a sense of how this day has played out as the results have been coming through. Hello, Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice, can you hear me?
Well, good evening to you, Peter, as well as the viewers at home. We are here in Polokwane just to speak to ordinary South Africans. As we know, on Wednesday, they all went out to cast their ballots. Right now, we just want to hear from them if they voted, who did they vote for, and are they happy with the results as they're trickling in. We know that right now it is the final stage of vote counting. We just want to get their views in terms of their political parties. Are they excited or disappointed? I'm going to speak to Joseph right now. Kalaboraro le jo vota ke nyako tseba gore lena le jo vota go ba la vota le vote tše party feng ele gore le thabisha ke dipolo tše di bonang gone jwale.
Ya ke tšwa votela EFF boele tšweleleng ka EFF e ntshwara botse o bontša re dilo tše re di nyakago re tlo feleletša ke le khumana.
And that was Joseph in a nutshell. He's saying that yes, he went and voted, and he voted for EFF, and he's happy with him. And I'm going to get another view from another South African to tell me if they voted or not, and who did they vote for. Khotato, did you go and vote on Wednesday? Which party did you vote for and why? And are you happy with the results that you're seeing at the moment?
Ya ke tšwa go vote la ANC ke tloga ke thabile ka mokgatlo wa gešo ke motlotlo wala ke re bona ke re matlhatse le matlhogonolo tsogolo kubong maaka ga šale ba re tshepiše tse ba tla kgona go se dira mo ba palela go ba re botše nnete ba re tla kgona. Thank you.
Well, Khotato in a nutshell that yes, he went and voted, and he voted for ANC, and he's proud of them, and he's wishing them all the best if they win this time around. And I'm going to get another view from a female just for her to give me, her perspective, if he voted or not, and who did she vote for. Did you vote? If you did, who did you vote for? And are you happy with the results at the moment?
No, I didn't vote because but banally empty promises. If you vote like ANC still banner promise amaga if the EFF, so ki happy with the results. So taking nyaka mo ANC kurba but rena as ma student ba ntshe di internship or rebele practical so that we cannot suffer nyaka me bereko.
Yep. Well, in a nutshell, she's saying no, she did not vote because she's not happy with ANC. All she wants from them is that they must create opportunities for them. So this time around, she decided that she's not going to vote. And we know right now here in Limpopo, ANC, EFF, and DA are the top three leading respectively. So we'll certainly have to wait and see tomorrow as to what will happen there. Well, that's all from me, from Polokwane, talking to South Africans, just giving me their reactions if they're happy with their respective political parties. It's back to you in studio, Peter.
Beatrice, thanks very much indeed. That's our reporter, Beatrice Magwale, in Limpopo, talking about the province there. Quick update, 50.81%. That's the lead that the ANC currently has after 78.9% of the vote in the province. So more on that still to come. Bongani Bingwa is next from me and the team for this afternoon's programming. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Every year, more and more people all around the country are saving money on their car insurance. Let's meet some of them. So this lady from Outsurance calls you?
Yes,
yeah?
Friendly, vibrant, energetic, and she made that sale within 3 seconds. No, 3 sentences.
3 seconds is even better than 3 sentences.
She was good. Ended up saving almost 300 Rand per month.
How would you summarize your overall experience with Outsurance? 3 words.
Fresh, vibrant, and lekker.
If you think it's a hassle getting a quote, put us to the test. Call or SMS now for a quick quote and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473. This car of yours is only that smell.
Yes.
Is it a new one?
It's new, my dear. First one.
So how long were you with your previous insurer?
For a month.
30
I only
days.
paid 1 premium. It was too much. I gave them a call.
Outsurance?
Yes. All my questions were answered, even some of the things, because I'm a new driver.
Yeah.
I was not aware of some things. They made a quote for me. I saved about 500 Rand. 2019. How?
Yes. If you've been with the same insurer for years and haven't recently put Outsurance to the test, call or SMS now and make 2019 your time to save. SMS SAVE to 34473.
My previous insurance phoned and said they're going to put my premium up again. And I just thought, you know, really, I can't do this. I sent the SMS, immediately he phoned me. And he was really so sweet. He was so friendly. I couldn't believe it.
How much did you end up saving?
It was about 419 Rand. It's never too late. You must just do it. It's really, really worth it. It's going to change your life. It's changed my life.
Have you told anybody else about it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
I tell everybody. Wherever I go, I tell them.
They've all saved. Why shouldn't you? SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save. So how did your path cross with Outsurance?
My nephew referred me because he had just switched and saved.
Yeah. How much did you save?
Over 900 Rand.
What are you doing with your saving every month?
I want to go to the Caribbean island. I want to go and get my groove back.
You need to give your nephew a shout out. Give him a shout out, Bonita.
Dale, you are awesome.
And now, she and Mr. Quipman are going to get their groove back. Just think what you could do with the money you save. SMS SAVE to 34473. 2019, it's your time to save. Tell me about how you heard about Outsurance the first time.
I was contacted by a very, very friendly consultant. Gave me the amounts. Honestly, didn't believe it.
Why didn't you believe it?
It was too good to be true.
Now you're making me curious. What was the amount?
1,305 Rand difference. I was like, what? No ways. I screamed on the phone. Other guys sitting around me like, what's wrong with this guy?
Can we just have a moment of silence?
Thank you, Outsurance.
SMS SAVE to 34473 and make 2019 your time to save.
We're in the stadium. Can you hear the crowd cheering as we make our way towards the finish line? Welcome to this Friday edition of our special elections update show. My name is Bongani Bingwa. Now, of course, the African Union today and SADC Observer Mission are largely convinced that these elections were free, fair and credible. They have noted some concerns like the low participation by young voters. The observers are due to make a formal declaration in a few weeks' time.
8th May 2019 South African national and provincial elections were peaceful, transparent, inclusive and credible.
The AU Election Observer Mission was led by Jakaya Kikwete, former president of Tanzania, comprising of a team including 4 electoral experts and support staff from various African Union member states. Presenting the summary of the Commission key findings, which included political environment and the electoral process, Kikwete commended, among others, ensuring the right of participation of women and persons with disabilities.
The AU mission was delighted to note the improvement made in the infrastructure and other measures that enabled persons living with disabilities to participate effectively in the electoral process. The mission commends the high level participation of women, who constituted 55% of registered voters.
However, the AU lamented the low participation by the youth in the elections. The media was not left behind, with the AU applauding the country's press freedom.
The mission lauds the prevailing press freedom in South Africa and noted with appreciation the way the state broadcaster accorded equitable coverage to the political parties.
The AU also complimented the IEC for the early opening of polling stations, except a few for reasons related to the late arrival of the voting material. The SADC Observer Mission in their summary gave the IEC a thumbs up for the manner in which the elections were carried out.
The atmosphere was orderly, calm and peaceful at all polling stations. Generally, no major instances of concern were observed. 89% of the polling stations we observed were easily accessible to all voters.
But there were challenges, it noted.
There were reports that the indelible ink was fading, leading to allegations of double voting, matters which the mission notes that the IEC is currently investigating.
SADC mission noted what it called a low youth turnout and said this was an area which required special attention. Leading the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa, former Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan praised the manner in which the IEC has been constituted, saying it was quite unique. He also raised the issue of the removal of the indelible ink, resulting in double voting.
We as I didn't really observe that, but people are saying, people are even claiming on radio that they voted 2 times. For somebody to come on radio to declare that I've committed a criminal offense because the person wants to raise an issue that concerns the country, you cannot look down or play it low. And that's why we are raising it. We did not observe double voting.
SADC's final report, which will cover pre- and post-election, will be released within 30 days. And the AU report, containing the assessment details of the electoral process and recommendations, will be released in 2 months' time. Lehana Tsoteti, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Right, the issue of the possibility of multiple voting getting some attention from the international observers. Right, looking then at the leaderboard with about 78% of the vote in Gauteng in, the ANC sitting at around the halfway mark. Let's get some reaction from residents of the province. Our Maheketla Mohlabe is somewhere around Gauteng. A good evening to you, Maheketla. Reaction on the ground, the ANC almost through that line, that 50% mark. Of course, we've got about 12% left to still count. What are people saying in response on the ground?
Good evening to you, Bongani, as well as viewers at home. Well, I can tell you that it's bustling here in Alexandra. We are at Alexandra Plaza, where a lot of people actually are telling me that they are happy. They are looking forward to the result, the final outcome of this general elections. But what we have learned from Alexandra basically is that they have finished counting. In fact, they finished yesterday to count, and it's part of Region 7 in Johannesburg. And I'm told that about 73% voted for the ANC compared to 2014 general elections, where we saw 72% voting for the ANC. But of course, let's just hear from the people as to who they voted for and why. So thanks so much for joining me. Just tell me, who did you vote for and why?
I voted the EFF Galvalaure. Maybe got the Pedro Mo Alexandra. One ANC Rabona Ronan Trade Beregala, Caleri vote Ronan Trade Beregala. That's why I voted the EFF.
Just tell me some of the changes that you really want to see in Alexandra.
Yeah, Mo Alexandra and Torrenya wanted the changes. Renya wanted at least Grammy Shumo, at least Baconore, Islali RDP. But Letrabe budget RDP, but if Maforina Leona Renya by stop, at least maybe EFF, Egacono.
Thanks so much indeed, Bongani. the issue of employment in the township also coming out here, and of course the issue of housing, more especially for the elderly people who, I'm told, have been waiting for years to get proper housing. They are living in shacks with their family members. But let's just hear from some of the residents here. Sir, thanks so much for your time. We just want to hear from you. Who did you vote by?
Hello? Yeah. Then mina ngivotela then rest then ANC and that party. The problem is one, because then the rest we've been voting for the same party for a long time, and then but then we didn't benefit nothing. So but this time they must look for this by when something he change. Because now then rest then must check then most especially in Maspala, and then the interest too foot then we will pass ebantwini. Then abantu bazo ikalo zabantu, and then if bahlezi lena bona from the parliament and abaze ebantwini ukuthi abantu bakhala ngani bebangeke bazi ukuthi banja ngani ukuthi ngokuthi imikhukhu iAlexander ihlanganile and it mix up Alexander for then long time, and then there's no changes, and then even a plan of Alexander abanayo. And then konamanje we need a plan labor zozangayo ku build Alexander, and then when they're talking about the land, so mele bakhulume ngeland into ukuthi bazokhona ukuthi ubone sokuthi iland habanikeza umuntu iland must be a paperwork, because mazini ukuthi then unikeza umuntu uJim no Jack uyangena laphana uthola ukuthi somebody else usuka etip slot une stand etip slot or maybe Orange Farm. It comes to Alexander uthatha stand la Alexander uyaqashisa futhi. We're having a problem about that. And then interest too, we've got a Tina then as a small business, as you see me strating, we're struggling so much. And then in a small business, because then there's no way forward. And then a way forward letting us in then what is in need of what mostly then ama linear market. Got bangatila na oranjan. And then like pavement, we're having a problem, pavement. Some people they but thing is extra on the street, pavement in. Without the metropolis control in a good way. And then here a problem Sibanayo.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks so much indeed. Bongani, complaints coming out here, and these are the same complaints that we had during that particular protest just early last month. The issue of the mushrooming of shacks in Alexandra, that needs to be stopped. Also the issue of land, it needs to be clarified in Alexandra. Perhaps it takes us back to the Alex Renewal Project, which was sometime stopped due to the lack of land, and that's one of the reasons that we had. So they need that clarified. Also, small businesses here, they are congested, so they need that to be attended to, and they also need visibility of officials on the ground so that they may be able to address these issues.
Right, Baheketa, we'll leave it there with you in Alexandra. Very much a case of local issues around the country dominating voters' minds. Let's go now to Mpumalanga, where the ANC is sitting at just over 70% of the vote. It's a dip from 78% at the last national election. Of course, Mpumalanga, one of the so-called Premier League provinces. We're joined there live by our Tumelo Mashoko. Tumelo, very good evening to you. 100% of the vote in Mpumalanga, that's been counted. We know exactly what the picture looks like there. How are people reacting? How are people responding to what they're seeing?
Well, the IEC is telling us that all of the 1,772 voting stations, all of those votes have already been counted and also been tallied up. The ANC, as you have said, is standing at 70%. They have dropped from what from the percentage of 78%. They're saying that they're disappointed, but they're very happy that they have won. They still reign the majority here in the province, and also they are being followed by the EFF. The EFF, they used to be on the third, but this time they've managed to actually double their numbers from 6% now to 12%. So the EFF, they're the official opposition for the ANC in the province, and the DA DA, which used to be the official opposition, they're only standing at 10%, which is a huge number from them because they have dropped quite a lot. But we're also seeing a party that we only seen once in the province. They have come back. We've seen now that the FF Plus have actually have like 2.4% coming into the province. So they are coming in strongly here into the province. So they will probably have a seat in the legislature here in Mpumalanga. Also, the Bragg party, it makes up the top 5 of the parties that actually did very well here. They're under 1%, but they have done very well because they last time they had a seat in the provincial legislature, so we're hoping they might have another seat in the provincial legislature. The EFF, because they used to have 2 seats in the legislature, they will probably have about 4 seats now in the legislature. But right now we are at the IEC. They have already packed and they're already gone, and they are. Because their work pretty much here is done, and now it's all left to the parties. And also we know that they have experienced problems, especially the IEC here in the province. We saw that just during the special votes when 2 of the IEC officials were found with ballot boxes outside, trying to put ballot papers into that ballot boxes. Those 2 officials were actually fired by the IEC, but we also seen a number of issues. Just today, they managed to track down 2 people that removed the ink after they voted, and they went again to vote, because one of them actually put a whole video on Facebook saying that he has voted and he's going to vote again, and removing the ink and all of that. So the police have managed to arrest those 2 people. They appeared in Barberton Magistrate Court this afternoon, but we understand that the police were doing their work to make sure that they track down those 2 people, because they found yesterday that they posted a video saying that they have voted and they voted twice. But now it's all about the parties, because we understand that now, because all of the voting has been done, all the parties have they know where they stand in terms of the numbers and the percentage, but now it's all up to them on what they have to do now. But we have seen over 17,000 of spoil votes here in the province, which is a huge number. So the province, it's just a huge number, which has taken a lot of votes maybe from parties that would have done very well, would have come into the fray, and also we could have seen a different numbers in terms of percentage on all of the parties. But that is one we have seen here in the province. But right now we understand that parties are all out, and all the people who have been working very hard throughout this election process, now they are out. They are probably celebrating now because they have done very well, especially the EFF, which they have done very well, coming from 6% to 12%, which is a huge margin. And also the ANC, yes, they have lost, but they're still happy that they have managed to do very well.
We'll leave it there with you. Thank you very much for that update from Mpumalanga. 100% of those votes in now. It's up to the parties. The horse trading, the negotiating has begun. But of course, remember, it's not official until the IEC says it is. We'll crunch more of the numbers for you, give you a sense of what it all means, and try to figure out what may come next. Stay with us.
When South Africans go to the polls, SABC News gives you names you can trust. Sakina, Criselda, Peter, Stephen, Tsepiso, Francis, Blaine, Leanne. South Africa votes. Live coverage starts Wednesday at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
While South Africa's 6th general election had the entire country fixated on the leaderboard, results board results charts for days. While there were winners, losers, and a few surprises, there were rude awakenings, sobering moments, joy, anger, relief, and disappointments. Well, watch Unfiltered on the SABC News channel and SABC3 at 20:30 on Sunday. I'll see you then.
Solani Mkiva says that they believe that the king should be released and that they are not being opportunistic.
The last 4 years, we have been engaging with government. It cannot be a post-colonial government that begins to jail a king. in a context of what actually happened.
Bobby Solomons, he's the spokesperson of the Alex Shutdown Committee, the multi-billion rand Alexandra Renewal Project. Nothing came of that.
Community wants to know what really happened to the money.
The creative director of the label, Mansu, that of course means black is beautiful in Sesotho. What has been your experience in that regard, given, you know, some of the more established labels that you have managed to work with?
It is hard. 15 years is a long time. There's a lot of sacrifice for your family to make for you.
This is the thing. This is it this morning.
The SABC News mobile app is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest in breaking news. Watch the SABC News channel along with clips and live streams of all the big news events. And listen to all the SABC News radio stations live, including podcasts and much more. Simply download the SABC News app to your Android or iOS device from either the Play Store or the App Store. SABC News, independent, impartial.
Welcome back. You're watching our special elections update show. We're looking at the major developments that have happened today. And I'm joined now, of course, by data analyst Michael O'Donovan. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, we've got the picture here on our screen looking at the national map with what 94% of votes now in officially. We're beginning to get a clear sense of what the picture will look like. The ANC is sitting at 57% of the vote. I mean, in a way you could argue, Michael, this is no great shakes. This is more or less what some of the more credible polls had predicted.
Yeah, it's pretty much as expected. But more to the point, is actually very much in line with the downward trajectory of the ANC over the last 20 years. If you look back at these figures here, 70% of the vote in 2004.
Absolutely. The ANC is a party in decline. That's been very much the story of the last couple of general elections. But the interesting thing that, of course, we are beginning to also observe is the story of the Democratic Alliance. They'd consistently grown, if you look at the figures from 2004, from 12% thereabouts, then all the way up to 22% in 2014. They've kind of gone down a little at about 20% or thereabouts. What do you make of that?
Well, I make of that that they're the big losers in this election. They've been an upward trajectory of growth. They did exceedingly well in 2016 local government elections, and suddenly that trajectory has been reversed. They're losing a lot of votes to parties like the Freedom Front Plus. They're in the habit of shooting themselves in the foot. And as long as you do that, you're not going to win the race.
They'll argue that perhaps the voters that have maybe gone to the Freedom Front Plus, they could spin it and say, good riddance to those. We want to be a party that's for all South Africans. That's consistently their message. The question is it resonating particularly with the black electorate? Because that's where they want to go. Are they being seen as sincere, as being credible?
Well, the figures seem to indicate that they have garnered quite a bit of support in black areas. But I think that saying that the Freedom Front Plus is benefiting from disaffected right-wingers is really missing the point. The way I interpret it is that those people who defected to Freedom Front Plus just happened to be able to find another home. In other words, the home that they were in, the DA, was no longer delivering what they thought. So one of the big stories about this whole thing is really about this voter turnout, which is 10% lower or 9% lower than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a big drop. And if you look at the surveys and all the other information, people were expecting a declining turnout, but not quite this big.
Let's look at the EFF now. As I say, we're sitting at almost 95% of the vote in. If you're looking at where the EFF finds itself, we're sitting at what, 1,654,000 votes, thereabouts in real terms. The last time around, in real numbers, they got about 1,169,000. So we're talking about a bump of just over 400,000 or thereabouts. I mean, a percentage sounds great. In real terms, is that a big number? Is that an impressive number?
Well, I don't know if anybody's going to be losing any sleep over that over the short term. In the last national government election, they got 6%. In the local government election, they got 8%. This time they get 10%. If they get 12% in the next election, ANC for one can rest for a good number of elections. So they have become the official opposition in 3 provinces, which is to their credit. But each of those 3 provinces are heavily dominated by the ANC.
Here's the thing. A lot of the message of the EFF obviously addresses the plight of people who are unemployed, for example. They've had a big focus on the youth, the young people of this country. Is that a strategy that's going to serve them well in the long run, given the kind of growth that they would like to target?
Absolutely not. If you want to target 2 groups that are disinclined to vote, it would be the youth, it would be the unemployed. For all elections are a 3-way race for the voter. I can vote for my preferred party, I can defect, or I can abstain. And what this figure here shows is that people are preferring to simply withdraw, abstain. It's easier not to do anything than to vote for than to defect to another party. So less than 1 in 5 people aged 18 to 19 register to vote. So it's a very low participation rate, and if you're going to appeal to that cohort, your growth prospects are very limited.
Let's talk about Gauteng, because that's obviously been one of the regions and the provinces that's been watched very closely. We're sitting at just under 80% of the final tally in at this stage. The ANC at one point did dip below that psychological 50% mark. It seems that has been bumped up again and again. We've got a picture of exactly how things look in terms of the electoral map. How do you interpret what has happened in Gauteng, given once again the steady decline we have seen from their highest point in 2004 at 68%? They're now sitting at the halfway mark.
Well, obviously what seems to be happening is a lot of disaffected ANC supporters are swinging towards the EFF. And it's not apparent over here, but what happens is a lot of disaffected DA supporters are basically abstaining. So we have, to a large extent, a disengagement by many of the electorate. And that is a major concern. So in Gauteng, we actually have very little swing in terms of voting stations. The voting stations pretty much follow the old traditional winners. But what happens, EFF is able to get support across demographics, across people that are disaffected.
Here's the thing, people will argue that, look, it's the way of democracies all around the world. As we mature as a democracy, people will probably, as we keep going, tend to or be inclined to vote less often. It's just a simple sign that, democracy is settling in the country.
It certainly is. But just remember what goes with that. And what goes with that is a very low youth participation rate, a very low participation rate by people that are marginalized. And as our politics normalizes, our hope that the youth get involved, our hope that the marginalized communities get involved will wane.
What's the old quote? Ultimately, the result reflects not the will of the majority, but the will of the majority who participated. We'll leave it there. Michael O'Donovan, thank you very much for your analysis. Michael O'Donovan, of course, is a data analyst, crunching the figures and trying to help us make sense of what these pictures mean. Stay with us.
Reporter Sipho Stearman. Sipho, thank you very much indeed. What are they protesting about?
Well, they're talking about their living conditions, that they don't have clean drinking water, they don't have proper toilets, they don't have proper housing.
Lopang, tell us what's happening where you are.
Early this morning, one classroom was set alight at the school.
Reptiles are creeping into the classrooms like snakes.
Residents are saying that they've been failed by the Mpumalanga municipality.
This is what you see. People are angry. Let the municipal manager go.
We've seen that Brent crude oil rise about 30% this year alone.
Brent crude that's going steadily firmer speaks to a global economy that's in good shape. What we don't want to